litre, while diesel will increase by between R7.37 and R7.51 a litre at midnight. The department has cited various reasons for the increase, including higher oil prices and the war in the Middle East. While the increases are slightly lower than earlier predictions, concerns remain about the impact on the cost of living and the broader economy. Department spokesperson Lerato Ntsoko explains and expands on the additional increases.
Illuminating paraffin for wholesale will increase by 11 rands and 67 cents per litre. The single maximum national retail price for illuminating paraffin will increase by 15 rands and 60 cents per litre. Maximum retail price for LP gas will increase by 1 rand and 8 cents per kilogram and 1 rand and 23 cents per kilogram in the Western Cape.
Tshwane Mayor Nasiphi Moya says Action SA is still searching for a candidate to replace Kulufelo Morodi. Morodi is the MMC for Corporate and Shared Services who was recently fired over corruption allegations. She was dismissed last week after being implicated at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry for allegedly attempting to manipulate a tender. Action SA has also terminated her party membership, saying it does not tolerate individuals involved in corrupt activities. At a media briefing in Mamelodi today, Moya assured residents that she's in the process of appointing Morodi's replacement.
The position remains an Action SA position, and I will advise once the internal processes of Action SA are concluded, I will advise who that person is. But we're not going to take too long because we obviously rely on that department to do a lot of work to support other departments. After Easter, we'll have a new MMC, that much I can assure you.
The family of one of the 5 women arrested in connection with suspected drug trafficking says they were shocked when learning of her arrest. She is one of 5 suspects appearing in the Kempton Park Magistrates Court this afternoon. The group faces charges linked to possession and trafficking of cocaine valued at 5 million rand. They were arrested at the OR Tambo International Airport on Saturday while on their way to China via Dubai. Speaking to Eyewitness News, the family says they learned of their sister's arrest from the media after attempts to reach her on the phone failed.
She needs to associate herself to the current problem that she is facing, and also we must also allow the law to take its course so that we will be able to pass this, and then she will serve her time in jail. Maybe she will become a changed person. We don't know.
And in Israel, Parliament has approved a law that would make the death penalty the default sentence for Palestinians convicted of deadly terror attacks. The bill stipulates that convicted Palestinians would be executed by hanging within 90 days, with a possible postponement of up to 180 days. The Palestinian Authority has condemned the adoption of the law, saying it seeks to legitimize extrajudicial killings, while the Association for Civil Rights in Israel has already petitioned the country's Supreme Court against the law. Gold is trading at $4,562.11 an ounce. The rand is at 17.13 to the dollar, 22.63 to the pound, 19.65 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $114.43 a barrel.
Well, at this stage, if you're leaving the Pretoria CBD, traffic is a bit sluggish. This is in the Hermanstad area on Eskiam Pahlele between Vomhagen and the R80. Look out for those faulty traffic lights in Midrand, New Road, and 16th Avenue. There's also faulty traffic lights in Kyalami at Kenilworth and Kyalami Boulevard.
In your world of sports, Bafana Bafana tonight at 7:30 at the DHL Stadium in Cape Town. This for their final friendly game against Panama before the ultimate World Cup. And if you're still looking for the Soweto Derby tickets, you might be out of luck, while the Proteas women want to book an appointment with you at midnight as they face New Zealand.
It's a partly cloudy afternoon in Gauteng today with some showers expected. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 27 and 28 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour, Finance Minister Godongwana says the temporary reduction in the fuel levy will cost the economy 6 billion rand in lost revenue.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app, DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
"702 Drive with John Perlman" is proudly brought to you by Telkom Business. Possible begins here. Good afternoon, everyone. It is 8 minutes past 3 on Tuesday, the 31st of March. This is 702 Drive with me, John Perlman. Wherever you're listening to us in 702 land, welcome to the show. The good news is that government is reducing the fuel levy by R3 on both petrol and diesel to ease the pain of the fuel price increases that come into effect at 1 minute past midnight tonight. The not so good news is that in solving one problem, government is unavoidably creating another, and all of this will depend on how long all of this goes on for. And that, of course, depends on a whole lot of things like the war in Iran that have absolutely nothing to do with us. In April alone, tax revenue will drop by around 6 billion rand. Might not be quite as bad in May, I would assume, given the Easter weekend falls early in the month of April. We probably spend a lot more money on fuel than we might do in the month that follows. Nevertheless, government is going to have to find that money from somewhere else, or government is going to have to make do with less money. It's a complicated situation. We'll explore it in detail after 5. In other stories, Parliament's ad hoc committee that has been looking at issues of corruption, criminality and political interference in the South African police has been in a meeting since 2 p.m. There's a lot they need to discuss, but one of the things that has got people particularly interested is the possibility that they might ask for an extension. Their work was supposed to be done and dusted earlier in March, but, well, they may want to go on longer. Lindsay Dentlinger is keeping a close eye on that. She'll update us. Of course, implications for the work of that committee, but again, implications for all of us, because every time these committees sit and commissions do their work, I know they're not identical. I'm not confused in that regard, but it costs money. It costs money and it costs time. Tolakele Mganga is also, staying in the city of Cape Town, is in that city for Bafana Bafana's World Cup farewell match against Panama. It's very, very important that on the one hand you get through these last games before the World Cup itself starts without too much trouble, no injuries. That's something you absolutely want to avoid, but you really want to put on a good performance so that you sent off to the airport with the song in your hearts and the backing of your fans. Tola Kele with us at about 20 past 4 with the latest from the camp. And some good news to share. You know, over the years, this show and many others on 702 have looked at the ongoing problem of water hyacinth covering the surface of Hartbeespoort Dam. It's interfered with that place as a source of leisure tourism. It's also affected the natural life that lives inside the dam, and there's been damage in that regard. Apparently, great strides are being made in solving the problem. We'll talk about that at 10 to 4. News of progress is always welcome news indeed. On the market, some relief on the oil price on a day when the rand has made some gains as well. Brent crude is cheaper by $5.46, still pricey at $107.32, but hey, we'll take any reduction we can get. The rand is trading at 17 Rand 4 against the dollar. That's 10 cents better than this time yesterday. A euro will cost you 19 Rand 68. The rand 8 cents stronger against that currency, and 22 Rand 55 will get you a pound. The rand picking up 13 cents against sterling. Some modest gains on the JSE, the all share up by 760 points. Real estate company Sirius has gained 3.2%. Rembro is up by 3.1%, and Sibanye has gained 2.9%. Stephen Curtis joining us with all the market news at 25 past 4. We'll get sport with Tato Muloto. That's at about 22:04. And Bali Dlamini, who you heard a moment ago, joins us with the very latest news headlines at 3:30. And shortly, Karabo Chale is keeping an eye on the roads while keeping an eye on the date. We'll tell you why I'm saying that a little bit later. 12 minutes past 3. This is 702 Drive. We're live in the place where you live. And if it's happening in 702 land, you will get to hear about it here first. But if there's stuff that you know about, angles on stories that we might not have considered, details we might have got wrong, any of the above and anything else as well, contact us please on 072 702 1702 or give us a ring on 011 883 0702. It's 13 minutes now, past 3 o'clock.
702.
Let's walk the talk.
So as always, we've got lots to talk about. We've got lots of questions that need asking. And of course, there are always interesting things that we need to discuss. Some of them are kind of random. They sort of pop up in the news. And some of them pop up as initially serious news. And then people respond in ways where they find the kind of human side and maybe even some of the fun in it. Now, this is very interesting because it's very seldom that stories of criminal activity actually bring out people in huge numbers to try and find the lighter side. Let me describe for you what happened first of all. Thieves in Europe, in Poland, have stolen 12 tons of KitKats from a truck that was making its way from Italy, where the Swiss firm Nestle had its production factory of these KitKats, making its way to Poland. And KitKat made a statement and said, the contents remain unaccounted for. Investigations are ongoing. The total number of KitKats stolen, 413,793. Each one has its own unique on-pack batch numbers. We won't be posting those numbers, but KitKat has asked anyone who finds a match to please get in touch. But what this has prompted has been a whole lot of people posting things where they are kind of finding the light side of it. As you can imagine, have a break, have a KitKat is very much in this. Apparently this stealing, by the way, of chocolates is quite a problem. In the UK, somebody went to jail for 18 months for stealing 200,000 chocolate eggs, Cadbury cream eggs, to be precise. So that's the scenario. Now, we are going to, I suppose, engage a little bit in some of the lighter side of this particular incident and ask you this question. What is that thing that you are so crazy about that you would go to any lengths to make sure you had a lifetime supply of that? I am, by the way, assuming the thieves are not chocoholics who plan to eat the entire stash. I'm sure there's a commercial angle, but that's the question we're asking. Jonathan Fairbairn, what brings out the crazy in you?
Afternoon, John, and afternoon to our 702 family. So there would be two things, and if they could be in one truck, preferably, it would be great.
Okay.
Less risk. It would be Titleist Pro V1 golf balls, Pro V1X golf balls.
Right.
You can never have too many of those. They always come in handy, especially when you're walking around a golf course looking for your own ball and you find somebody else's ball and it's like, a Pro VX, but it's not mine. Score.
Yes.
So those, and then Willie's cookies and cream ice cream. Oh. My goodness.
Yeah. How do golf balls do under extreme refrigeration? Because you could lose, obviously, the ice cream if it's in a golf ball truck. In fact, you almost certainly would. But vice versa, how are you doing?
Well, look, the ice cream could be in the refrigeration, and there could be a trailer with the Pro V1s on the back end, and then we have both of the precious cargo, as precious as it can be.
Okay, there we go. All right, so KitKat has had massive response from many people, as I said, some of whom are being sort of lighthearted about it. There's a picture, for example. If you go onto X, for example, and you just type in KitKat, you'll get a lot of these. But it shows Al Pacino in Scarface sitting in that iconic scene, whereas instead of all this cocaine in front of him, he's got blood on his face and he's Al Pacinoing as only Al can. And yeah, he's just got all these KitKats in front of him. How about you, Karabo Charlie? What would you go to great lengths?
Sheesh. If I don't get meat, I am so grumpy. So I have to consume some sort of form of meat per day so that I can get along with everybody. Otherwise, I'm just grumpy as hell.
Yeah.
Meat. Fill it up, refrigerator, freeze it up the whole year. I'll have it.
Yeah. So somebody is talking about they're going to be sold on the dark chocolate web. But you may have some thoughts on that, or you may want to just tell us, what is that thing that you could never have enough of, and you might go to extreme lengths to guarantee your lifetime supply? Give us a call on 072 702 1702 and 011 883 0702. It's 18 minutes past 3.
John Perlman
On 702.
3 to 6 p.m.
Right, let's find out what's happening out on the roads. Karabo Chali is standing by to give you the latest. Good afternoon.
Well, John, at this stage, nothing much really happening on our roads. It is free-flowing across 702 land. No accidents have been reported. However, we still have traffic lights not working. This is in Sharon Lee at Malibongo Drive and Mahogany, in Kyalami at Kenilworth and Kyalami Boulevard. And traffic lights still out of order in Sandton at Grayston and Catherine. If you come across any other traffic issues, kindly WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
This Easter weekend, slow things down and savor the moments that matter. Let 702 be the soundtrack to your long weekend. Made for long drives, shared meals, and time well spent with the people you love. From the classics you grew up with on 702 Music Saturday to the rich, soulful sounds of Soulful Sundays. It's music that feels like home. Whether you're on the road, gathered with family, or stealing a quiet moment to yourself, we're right there with you. Take us with you wherever you go. Listen to 702 Live on the Prime Media Plus app. Just press play this Easter. 702. Let's walk the talk.
When you train for results, you don't quit halfway. Earn up to 7.35% interest with a Nedbank Just Invest account. Access your money within 24 hours. Keep your money agile. Get money fit with Nedbank. See money differently. Nedbank. For more information, visit nedbank.co.za. We're licensed FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Joburg, Pretoria. This is Miss Jill Scott, and I am coming to see you.
Join three-time Grammy Award winner Jill Scott for her To Whom This May Concern tour, performing classics like Golden, The Way, and new hits Pressure, Beautiful People, and more. 7 November at the Sunbet Arena, Times Square. Book now at ticketmaster.co.za. Jill Scott, in association with Showtime Management at 702.
Gauteng is currently experiencing high water consumption. To avoid water interruptions, residents are urged to use water sparingly to allow equitable supply. Act now, save water. Every drop counts. This message is brought to you by the Department of Water and Sanitation, Rand Water, Gauteng Provincial Government, City of Johannesburg, City of Tshwane, and City of Ekurhuleni.
When you're running a small business, you need someone who speaks your language, who understands when you talk innovation, growth, scaling. Someone like MTN Business and 702. The 702 MTN Small Business Awards, from the townships to the suburbs and everywhere in between. We want to talk about you and your business. Go to primemediaplus.com to enter your business or nominate one you know. Because once we start talking about where you are now, you'll be well on your way to reaching your next. The 702 MTN Small Business Awards. Let's talk shop. T's, C's, and more on primemediaplus.com.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
702 Drive. One of the things that I'm keen to understand better, and perhaps somebody listening has experience of running a garage or being involved in forecourt services of some kind. I fully understand that with petrol, the 3 Rand that is coming off the fuel levy immediately impacts the price of petrol because petrol is regulated. Now, R3 is also coming off the fuel levy on diesel. However, if the price of diesel is recommended and therefore discretionary, what is there to stop people selling diesel from saying, okay, well, I only put up the price a certain amount? So they may not put it up. They will nod in the direction of the R3 rebate. It's not a rebate, the R3 relief that you are meant to get. Not in the direction of that, but nevertheless still make an increase that perhaps takes up R1.37 of that R3. I don't understand how it will be implemented and enforced so that we absolutely get that full R3 on diesel if it's a recommended price. Is there anyone who understands the mechanics better than us? Obviously, we'll look around for a guest who can shed some light and give us some clarity on that. But if you're already in the know or wiser than me, because as you can hear, I'm, searching for an explanation and some clarity on this particular one, do give us a call on 011 883 0702 and 072 702 1702. Mike responds to the 12 tons of KitKat and says the KitKat thieves must have lost their wafer for a bit. Thank you, Mike. Keep those coming, please. The question we asked you is, what is that thing that you would absolutely love to have an abundant lifetime supply of, so much so that you might be willing to go to extreme lengths for it? So far, we've got Kabazela, who would do anything to have enough golf balls and a good supply of, what was it? Cookies and cream, ice cream, I think it was. He'll let me know if I got that wrong. And for Karabochali, it is freezers full of red meat. 24 minutes past 3.
Drive home with John Perlman
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
We focused a lot on the water shortage problems in Johannesburg, perhaps less than we should have, on comparable issues out in the city of Tshwane. But today, Executive Mayor of the Metro, Nasipi Moya, has been talking about various steps that they are going to be taking to try and stabilize the water situation. Some of it focuses on tankers that they have actually gone out and bought, insisting that their dependence on private suppliers of tanker services are going to diminish and diminish steadily over time. Alpha Ramoshwana, our EWN reporter, was out there covering this and joins us now. Alpha, very good afternoon to you. Tell us, first of all, about the overall plan and where tankers fit in with what the city of Tshwane is planning to do. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, John. You would remember that you would know that Gauteng has been facing some water supply challenges over the past few years, and so the reliance on water tankers has grown rapidly, and we've seen both city of Tshwane and the city of Johannesburg really depending on water tankers to supply communities during times of difficulty and times of need. And so the city of Tshwane has decided now to insource water tanker services, so that you would know that across the board they usually contract the service of water tankers to the private sector, and we've heard all sorts of corruption allegations in this specific ministry or sector, both in Joburg and Tshwane, hearing that there's corruption when it comes to water tanker businesses. Some politicians are allegedly involved in some of the water tanker businesses, and the city of Tshwane has now decided to insource that responsibility. So as of the 1st of April, which is tomorrow, water tankers, emergency water tankers in the city of Tshwane will be under the control of the municipality. So they've purchased about 15 new water tankers. It's going to add on to the already existing fleet, which means they now have about 41 water tankers, which are going to be readily available in times of emergency. So these water tankers will be used specifically, John, when there's a water supply interruption or disruption in communities across the city of Tshwane. They will be owned by the city of Tshwane. However, informal settlement and other communities that still don't have water will be supplied by water tankers that are owned by the private sector or contracted water tankers. So the insourcing is specifically for the emergency water tankers, but for daily use and daily need, the private sector is still very much going to be involved.
So, I mean, I would have thought that people would have had contracts and that contract would have in some way been based on a certain level of supply. If some of that work and some of that water is going to be delivered by the city, did the mayor explain what happens to those contracts? I mean, the worst of both worlds would be if, you've got people being paid for something that they're not actually delivering.
Well, you would know that the financial year is about to start, and so the contracts which had been there in the previous financial years could have lapsed, and the contracts which were being used for supplying communities that already don't have water are still there.
Right.
Some of the companies as well will move from emergency to helping with daily operations, those informal settlements which don't have water at all. But the emergency division is going to be the competence of the municipality, and so there's no company that's going to have a contract as of the 1st of April, which is tomorrow. Everything will be controlled and run by the municipalities. The drivers are employed by the municipality. There's about 23 of them so far. The vehicles are owned and maintained by the municipality as well. And this is specifically for the emergency water tankers, which are now under the municipality. But the contracts are still there for those who are on the ground each and every single day, supplying to communities that already don't have water.
And in terms of the support staff, I mean, it's one thing to have tankers, but you need drivers, you need, I would have thought, quality control, people who make sure that the water that gets uploaded and then distributed is of the correct quality. Does this mean more jobs? They're going to have to hire some people to deliver this service? I don't know if that came up.
Yes, they did hire new people to assist in that regards, but they only spoke about the drivers, which is currently 23 drivers and about 41 vehicles in their fleet, 41 trucks in their fleet. And so those at the moment are the only people who we know have been hired. But the city of Tshwane has been having those resources to clean and make sure that the water in the tankers are clean, because the water tankers, the private water tankers, were working together with the municipality. So those systems are still in place. It doesn't change. They still use the very same systems that they had, which they used with the private sector, just that this time around they own the water tankers and the drivers are under their employ.
Thanks so much, Alpha Ramoshwana. If you live out in the city of Tshwane, please do give us your thoughts on what the mayor and her team were announcing today. Step in the right direction. Give us a call on 011 883 0702 and 072 702 1702. Right now it's 3:30. And it is that story which leads off the news headlines. Here's Mbali Dlamini. Good afternoon.
Thanks, John. Good afternoon. The city of Tshwane will no longer depend on private contractors to supply emergency water tankers to communities. Today, the Metro announced the provision of emergency tankers will now fall solely under its control. 15 new tankers have been purchased and will remain on standby to assist with emergency water supply. Alpha Ramoshwana reports.
The city of Tshwane's emergency water fleet has grown to 41 tankers, which will be deployed to assist communities during water supply interruptions. This is part of measures to reduce the Metro's reliance on private contractors while strengthening its internal capacity to operate its own tankers. While municipal-owned tankers will handle emergency situations, informal settlements without access to water will continue to be serviced by private contractors. Utility Services MMC Franz Bushielo says the long-term plan is for the city to fully own and operate 100% of its water tankers.
From the 1st of April 2026, tanker services will be fully municipal-led. This restores control and reduces long-term costs.
The city has been recently embroiled in a water supply scandal with allegations suggesting the so-called water tanker mafia has been exploiting the Metro's funds. Alpha Ramshwana, Eyewitness News in Mamelodi.
The Nigerian embassy in South Africa has condemned the coronation of a so-called king in the Eastern Cape. Nigerian officials say the ceremony, which resulted in Solomon Ogbonna Eziko calling himself the Igwe of Cook Gompo City was not an installation of him as king, but a celebration of the Igbo Association. Yesterday, protests led by civic organizations and political parties in the Eastern Cape ended in chaos, with cars being damaged and a building partially torched. Today, the demonstrators took their protest to the Nigerian embassy in Pretoria. Jabuli Limbata was there.
Today, more anti-illegal migrant groups took to the streets of Pretoria outside the Nigerian embassy, calling for answers about how the coronation of a Nigerian king was allowed to take place. While that question remains unanswered, the embassy has condemned the move, saying even in their own country, a coronation does not happen in such a way. Deputy to Nigerian High Commissioner Olajide Ugomajedi met with the protesting groups and offered his sincere apologies for the actions of Solomon Iziko, which he says have been misinterpreted. He says the embassy does not support any illegal actions taken by Nigerians living in the country and that Nigeria is a friend of South Africa.
I offer our apology to the traditional institutions in South Africa. We say sorry to whatever has happened. The embassy will never in any way encourage undermining the authority or undermining their traditional institutions.
He has signed the memorandum and committed to responding within the set time. Jabuli Limbata, Eyewitness News, Pretoria.
Vuyisile Ngata has been appointed as the Eastern Cape's new police commissioner. The announcement was made by National Police Commissioner Fani Masemola in Zwelitsha today. His appointment comes amid wider leadership changes in the police service, including the recent appointment of Thabang Lesia as Free State Police Commissioner and the extension of Ntantla Mkhwanazi's contract as the KZN Police Chief. In his acceptance speech today, Ngata said he is adequately prepared for the task ahead.
I know that I have a responsibility. It is not just a personal honor now that I've been elevated. I know that it is a heavy responsibility that I'm fit for. I must say, Premier, I am fit for the purpose.
And the Transport Department says it's ready to ensure that roads are safe this Easter weekend. It has deployed 850 national traffic officers ahead of the Easter weekend as roads are set to get busy countrywide. The period is notorious for road deaths, with accidents recorded on major routes, including the N1, the N2 and the N3. Government is currently on a national road safety campaign in a bid to curb fatalities during the period. Deputy Transport Minister Mkhuleko Hlengwa.
Roadblocks will be a familiar feature of our travels for the foreseeable future, including this long weekend, because it remains our attitude that is where we are able to remove unroadworthy vehicles on the roads, ensuring that people actually pay their fines, and for us to execute the warrants of arrest where it is necessary.
It's a partly cloudy afternoon in Gauteng today with some showers expected. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 27 and 28 degrees.
Midrand traffic sluggish on the N1 northbound from the Between Change to New Road. Look out for those faulty traffic lights in Sharon Lee at Malubongwe Drive and Mahogany.
The top story in EWN, the city of Tshwane will no longer depend on private contractors to supply emergency water tankers to its communities.
Bongani Bingwa, 702 Breakfast.
Weekday mornings, 6 to 9.
President Ramaphosa saying he has not been sleeping very much, nor has his finance minister, who is, of course, crunching the numbers to see what relief he can offer hard-pressed South Africans ahead of expected increases in the price of just about everything, principally fuel, fertilizer, and that means food. How badly are we going to be hit?
The price increase is quite a big shock. Today it's over $110 a barrel, so almost double the price that we saw probably a few months ago. So we do expect that it is going to be a hard hit.
How rapidly can we expect these increases to filter?
We wouldn't expect them to go up immediately. With food, I think it's longer term sort of impact, because that may be months away for some of the food products, only once fertilizer prices go up and transport costs go up.
James Hodge, the chief economist of the Competition Commission.
Bongani Bingwa, 6 to 9.
On 702.
Corporates That Care promotes and encourages corporate leaders and all citizens to walk the talk for a better South Africa. Catch Corporates That Care this Wednesday at 10 to 9, featuring Prasa. Their CEO, Hishan Emaran, will be in conversation with Bongani Bingwa. Join us every Wednesday as we highlight the efforts of companies and brands dedicated to building our country. Corporates That Care is a Prime Media Cares initiative with 702 and Prime Media Outdoor. 702, let's walk the talk and make a difference together.
There are some things in life you can't replace. You know, the essentials. Dinners with the ones you love.
Dad, it's on fire.
Coffees discussing the ones you used to love.
It was standard 4, Mom. Time to let go.
Watching movies as you fall in love.
It's really smoky in here.
Get what you love for less with SA's best furniture essentials on sale right now at DecoFurn. In-store or at decofurnsa.co.za.
Every Easter, alcohol accelerates harms for families in South Africa. Our roads become deadly. Alcohol fuels violence and destroys our communities. This Easter, let's reduce the harms caused by alcohol. Increase excise tax above inflation. Excise tax is protection. For more information, follow the true cost of alcohol.
Small business owners speak a language of their own. And it's a language MTN Business and 702 understand very well. That's why we're celebrating SMEs who walk that entrepreneurial talk in the 702 MTN Small Business Awards. From the townships to the suburbs and everywhere in between, small businesses are proving that big things can grow from bold ideas. If that sounds like your business or perhaps a business you know, go to primemediaplus.com to enter or nominate them. Because once we start talking about your business, who knows how much further it could go. The 702 MTN Small Business Awards. Let's talk shop. T's and C's apply.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Afternoon, Tate John. This is Kumo from Johannesburg, originally from Hammanskraal though. With regards to the problem of the water tankers, I don't think this thing is enough, man. Like, they got 15 and they're all going to be 41. I mean, like, Hammanskraal needs that 41 on its own, so I don't think this is enough. We still going to have caterers that are still going to be benefiting from this system, and we see what happens with these water tankers. I just don't understand. Why don't they just fix the problem? The same money that was used in buying those water tankers, couldn't we get the problem at least fixed, at least halfway? Why are we busy with water tankers? Why don't we get the infrastructure to work for us? Damn.
Yeah, and also what's the word? A questioning comment from Letsia, who says, I hate to be a cynic, but the water tank mafia will sabotage the new infrastructure, unfortunately with the collusion of people in high positions in the same municipality. The other thing we're getting correspondence on, by the way, is what's happening out at filling stations. Sipodi says, good afternoon, and Tate John. There is a Sasol petrol station on Linwood Road in Pretoria that has no petrol at all. So if you want to update us on stock availability, please do give us a call on that on 011 883 0702. I think it's very important to say that some of these shortages may well be temporary, and that's a very common phenomenon when there's a fear that there could be a shortage down the line, that people stock up. Obviously, this is fueled as well by the concerns about the impact of the price increase, and that will persist even if the fuel levy has been knocked down by 3 Rand on petrol. But nevertheless, the fact that there's a shortage now doesn't mean it's a structural, systemic shortage. It may just be happening, be what's happening now. But please update us. And if you've got a different take on it, by the way, please call us. I'm happy to hear other views. 072 702 1702, 19 minutes now to 4 o'clock.
EWN Sport.
Okay, let's go down to Cape Town. Hugo Bruce and the Bafana Bafana team. One more match before they head off to take on Mexico in the World Cup opener on the 11th of June. Tonight's game, though, Tato Moloto, very, very important. Got to get a result.
Absolutely, John. It is massive for them because the 11th of June is the big one at the 2026 FIFA World Cup for Bafana Bafana. They're up against co-host Mexico, but today they play a Panama side that apparently has a similar identity to Mexico, so it should be quite interesting to see what Hugo Bruce comes up with for tonight. Also looking at the fact that we are still waiting for that final selection as far as squad is concerned, but Bruce has also admitted that he's enjoying the build-up to preparing for this tournament as a coach.
For me, it's not enough to be there, and I should be very, very disappointed if the performances should not be what I think they have to be. So I will push the players, but I don't really have to push them. Also, they want to show themselves on the World Cup. So for me, it's another 2-3 months hard work. And let's hope, I will not say end of June, but somewhere in July, that we have to come back from the World Cup and that everybody will be very happy.
Kickoff is at 7:30 at the DHL Stadium. Speaking of the World Cup, it's winner takes all in the last of the World Cup qualifiers with just 6 places up for grabs. Denmark with the Czech Republic at 8:45 for a possible spot in South Africa's group, while Italy up against Bosnia-Herzegovina at the same time, along with Poland against Sweden and Kosovo with Turkey. For the DRC, they are with Jamaica at 11 p.m. Back home, if you are still looking for those Soweto Derby tickets, then you are out of luck, my friend, because the second edition of the Derby with Kaizer Chiefs and Orlando Pirates has officially been sold out. Also, in some new developments at Nigerian, Chiefs have officially launched their women's team. In cricket, it is a midnight showdown for the Proteas women as they chase lead in their second ODI against New Zealand, a match that will be special for all-rounder Sunay Luce, who will be making her 150th appearance for the Proteas in this format.
Obviously very happy and excited for it. I think every time you get onto the field and represent your country is a big honour, and tomorrow is no different. So very excited, and hopefully there can be 150 more.
Tato Moloto, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
Right, let's get the very latest from out on the roads. Karabo Charlie, what have you got? Good afternoon.
Well, John, at this stage, nothing much really to report on. Things are looking pretty quiet on our roads. Otherwise, if you're in the Midrand area heading towards Centurion, traffic a bit sluggish. This is on the N1 northbound from the Bacloons change to New Road. I see also traffic is already building up. This is traveling through the Joburg CBD on the M1 southbound from Killarney Bains to the Crown interchange. Also, look out for those faulty traffic lights in Santon at Greyston and Catherine. If you come across any other traffic issues, kindly WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app. You're now listening to 702 Afternoon Drive with John Perlman. Brought to you by Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
You're with John Perlman
on 702.
Yeah, I mean, the reality of the fuel situation coming through in some messages. Listen to this from Taru, who says, most petrol stations in Diepkloof don't have diesel. I drove to Joburg South. I still couldn't get diesel. I'm thinking of parking my car until the war is over. And unfortunately, I can't use trains because we don't have a train station in Diepkloof. Tough times. Hope that there's a diesel supply eventually on its way to that part of Soweto and certainly to the south of Joburg as well. 4:45.
John is on X.
At John Perlman.
12 tons of KitKat stolen. The KitKats, not on their own, of course, they were in a truck, making their way from central Italy to Poland. I don't know if KitKats are a big thing over Easter. Anyway, these KitKats are now in the hands of people who never paid for them. I'm not quite sure what they're going to do with them, but it prompted us, Tato, to ask this question. What is that thing that you're absolutely crazy about? For Kabazela, it was a certain kind of ice cream. Red meat is going to be a huge concern if there was any shortage of it for Karabo Charlie. And, you know, you might go to quite extreme lengths, perhaps, to secure your lifetime stash. Maybe not 12 tons of it, but a decent amount. What for you would fit the bill on that particular question?
A good bottle of sparkling water. And I think we underestimate how hard it is to find an actual good bottle of sparkling water. I've come across many bad in Dr. John, but I would give my left kidney for a
Oh,
good
my
bottle
goodness.
No, I'll give it away. I will if I am
Hang on
desperate
to your
enough.
kidney. Somebody give the man a bottle.
Without
Goodness.
the water, I wouldn't have the healthy kidneys, you see? So I need
Yes.
the water.
Okay, and is it a particular brand?
There is a particular brand that I love.
Okay, and it's probably scarce and pricey.
You know what? Actually not. I do
Okay.
think that Valpre has really great sparkling water.
Okay, so I don't think you're in give away your kidney territory. Goodness, well priced. You like it. Hang on to the kidney. You're going to need it. Trust me. 702 Drive. Tell us, what is that thing that you absolutely need a decent and guaranteed supply of that you simply cannot do without, and for which you might take desperate measures should your supply be threatened? Call me on that. 072 702 1702 and 011 883 0702. 13 minutes to 4.
John Perlman
On 702.
3 to 6 p.m.
You know, we get those stories that seem to just not move at all. And I certainly recall conversation after conversation, and it went on for a while, where we were talking about the really parlous state of the Hartbeespoort Dam, covered in hyacinth, affecting the fish and marine, or not marine because it's not the sea, the water life beneath it, and obviously interfering in many ways with water supply in that part of the northwest. However, it seems to me, from what we've heard, that there is actually something of a solution. A story published recently, I'll just give you the exact date, 26th of March on the Times Live site, says that hyacinth coverage on Hartbeespoort Dam is now at less than 10%. Many, many things, I'm sure, had to be done to make sure that this problem was resolved. So let's hear about this and welcome to 702 Drive Annette Muir, who's Chief Director for Water Use, Compliance Monitoring and Enforcement. Ms. Muir, welcome and thanks very much for your time. It's really great to take a long-running problem and actually be able to report that the problem's been solved. Was there a turning point, or were there many turning points?
I think we just need to be appreciative that there's a 10% coverage, but also acknowledging that the plant has been on the dam for quite a number of years. So unfortunately, though the measures we are doing is keeping the coverage low, we're still sitting with a seed bank in the dam that will germinate next year and the year thereafter. And every time we just need to make sure that it doesn't keep flowering. And that's what we're doing with the biological controls, the insects that has been imported specifically for these plants to prevent them from flowering. So that will address the hyacinth. And then obviously we are working on the upstream catchment to improve the water quality that's coming into the dam. So it's a big catchment area that we have to sort out. So yes, the problems are on the dam specifically, but the water quality and everything that contributes to it also needs to be addressed.
So, I mean, I don't want to say problem solved, and you're making it very, very clear that it isn't, and that's good to have that perspective. But what have you and colleagues learned from the efforts to deal with this? Because many things have been tried. I think there was a time when people felt quite bleak about the dam being restored to the state that everybody wanted it in. But are there lessons learned that might help you in dealing with the upstream problem that you've just decided?
I think the first lesson is that these plants are from another country. We don't have them naturally occurring here. Any plant that occurs naturally here has got a predator. It's just how the ecosystem works. So through Rose University, they have done extensive research to find the specific insect that takes these plants out or minimizes them. And I must say the community around the dam has been exceptional, that they've put up rearing stations to help grow these insects. So, and then with the intervention from Rhodes University, they time the release of these insects perfectly to be able to say that we have 10%. We're also obviously harvesting some of these plants, probably not nearly as much as we should or could. That is where the labor cost and everything makes it very expensive, is to remove these plants, because you can't transport them. There's very minimal use for them, especially if there's biological control on them. So I think that's the lessons, is that making it a community involvement, because we can't do it by ourselves. And there's specialists that can help assist in the water quality. We've also installed a nano bubbler on the dam itself to help trap the phosphates coming into the catchment from the wastewater treatment works. Yeah.
So we've got one of our listeners, Glenda, who expresses the concern that the hyacinth is being sprayed and that this could be killing the fish because the spray is detrimental to fish life. I mean, what is your response to that? I know whenever there are chemicals involved in any kind of solution, people get nervous.
Absolutely. We do not spray anything on our water resources. The only time we've ever applied was for the Vol barrage, and that was because of that extensive invasion that we had there. The problem with spraying is that those plants then die en masse.
Yes.
And then that decomposition brings on blue-green algae, which is also hazardous to people. So if I can express my concern to the community, is that there's a lot of people that are pushing for spraying, that the insects is not working fast enough. But the drama and the consequences of spraying is far more extensive than what we have with the biological control, which is much more natural. We don't know if there is being sprayed, it's not us, and we are not then familiar with what is being sprayed. So there has been some rumors about that, but it's definitely not the department that is spraying. And as far as we know, every time we've gone to inspect and we see dying plants, we can also find the megalomelus, the chochaki that goes with the plant. Yes.
So I want to go back to where you started, Ms. Muir, and ask you this. I mean, upstream problems that have got really nothing to do with the work that you do, but everything to do with the work that you now are required to do because of the consequences of upstream pollution. Where are we on that? Because obviously other departments, I would imagine, need to get involved. Other enforcement bodies need to act if they possibly can. Do you have a sense of the upstream situation getting better, or are we a long way from that?
All right, so my other hat is enforcement.
Okay.
We have got several criminal cases against some of the metropolitan municipalities in the upstream catchment. Must recognize that it's Mogale City that's discharging into that catchment. It's City of Johannesburg, City of Ekurhuleni, and City of Tshwane.
Yeah.
The three metros.
Yeah, I mean,
and it's all the other land uses around. So it's not just wastewater. So with all of those, we've just launched our Green Drop report, the status of infrastructure of wastewater in Gauteng. Unfortunately, it is declining. So for that, we are taking compliance and enforcement measures. Partnering with National Treasury, there's the performance grant for the Metro Trading Services reform, which we see a move for our metropolitan municipalities to ring fencing and focusing the infrastructure or their budgets on maintenance and infrastructure. So that should see us gradually recovering from the water quality. In terms of the industrial uses, we've had several interventions with compliance and enforcement where we've got chrome washing plants jumping up all over the place. So we've taken action and joint operations with environmental affairs on that as well. And we see a lot of the abattoirs and the discharge industries or the waste industries are actually improving their systems because of our compliance and enforcement activities.
In terms of compliance and enforcement, a final question then, Ms. Moore. I mean, obviously you'd like to take a bite into the leg of the people who are doing this thing. How sharp are the teeth available to you?
The teeth are sharp, but they are slow.
Okay.
So even when
a slow bite.
A slow bite, yes. Even when we do criminal prosecution, or not, we don't do the prosecution, NPA does, but when we lay a criminal charge and we investigate it with our environmental inspectors, it takes 3 to 5 years before it gets in front of a judge.
Goodness.
So that doesn't put the infrastructure back. So doing enforcement by itself is not going to do the trick. And I think that is also part of what we are doing today, is to say, how do we support How do we regulate? How do we push, from all angles to address the performance? But by pure enforcement, it's not going to do it. But we are amending our Water Services Amendment Bill to introduce personal liability for our municipal managers and for any company director. So even if it's a private institution or a director in a public municipality,
Yes.
our amendment bill will now include personal liability so that we don't have people hiding behind the corporate veil of a municipality or from a company.
Thanks
So
so
we
much.
are sharpening our teeth.
Good.
Yeah.
Good luck with that. Let's hope you can get to court a little quicker. 3 to 5 years sounds like very much trying to do something long after the damage has been done. Annette Muir is Chief Director for Water Use, Compliance, Monitoring and Enforcement, joining us from the Department of Water and Sanitation.
The Midday Report.
Weekdays,
12 to 1.
What is your reaction to the court's decision?
We note that the court have ignored the media statement of the president, where the president has decided to follow the same open and transparent process that led to the appointment of the current National Director of Public Prosecutions, Advocate Shamila Batoy. The judgment on the face of it, it's appealable. We are encouraged also by the court that this is a constitutional matter.
The Midday Report,
With Mandy Wiener.
12 to 1 on 702.
702.
Zandi Finga's Hive promo agency was growing fast, but the paperwork was catching up. What were you up against?
Challenges that were slowing down my growth was finding clients as well as organizing the promoter application.
But with Yep for online visibility and Zoho to manage her database, she has turned chaos into a well-honeyed hive.
Get Yep by Telkom Business from 249 Rand per month and Zoho from only 1,260 Rand annually. Call 10213 or click telkom.co.za. T's and C's apply. Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
Gauteng is currently experiencing high water consumption. To avoid water interruptions, residents are urged to use water sparingly to allow equitable supply. Act now. Save water. Every drop counts. This message is brought to you by the Department of Water and Sanitation, Rand Water, Gauteng Provincial Government, City of Johannesburg, City of Tshwane, and City of Ekurhuleni.
Driving the conversation on 702 Afternoon Drive with John Perlman. Powered by Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
You're with John Perlman
on 702.
702 Drive, still to come on the show, new study looking at child poverty. Some very, very important points being made in that, and we're going to look at it in more detail at about 12 with Marion Wagner, who's Director and CEO at the organization Breadline Africa. What struck me about what I've read about this report, I haven't read through the whole thing, is they look at what they call multi-dimensional poverty. So my first instinct on poverty is always around food, and food poverty is, of course, critical. But they look at many other elements as well, issues of security, a sense of dignity around questions of sanitation and so on. So a very important study, I think. We'll look at it more closely in about 15 minutes' time.
You're with John Perlman
on 702.
Also after 4, Bafana Bafana versus Panama in Cape Town. Nothing resting on the game in terms of formal competition, but my goodness, you do want to have your last appearance before your home fans, and I understand ticket sales have been great down in Cape Town. You really want to go off with a snap in your stride and a sense that you're starting to hit your best form. Tolakele Mganga is down in Cape Town. She's been hanging out close to find out what's going on in the camp. She's with us at about 4:20. It's 4 o'clock.
This is EWN.
Government to find ways to cover the fuel levy revenue shortfall, and foot and mouth disease cases continue to rise. Good afternoon, I'm Bali Dlamini. Government will introduce mechanisms to recover an estimated 6 billion rand in lost revenue during the month of April. Finance Minister Godongwana says the money will be lost due to the temporary reduction in the fuel levy. Government has reduced the levy by 3 rand a litre following talks between National Treasury and the Department of Mineral Resources. The decision came just ahead of a 3 rand 6 cents a litre increase in petrol prices for both grades from from midnight. Nkosikhona Malingamnisi reports.
The intervention follows rising global oil prices driven by escalating conflict in the Middle East, which has increased pressure on local fuel costs. The general fuel levy on petrol will drop from R4.10 to R1.10 per litre, while diesel will decrease from R3.93 to 93 cents per litre, both for 1 month. These figures exclude other charges, including the Road Accident Fund and carbon fuel levies. Speaking in Sandton, Godongwana says the measure will be reviewed monthly over the next 2 months. This audio is courtesy of Newsroom Africa.
The only thing we can influence is the levy, is the fuel levy. Now, there are people who are spreading incorrect information, which think that as the price of fuel increases, the fuel levy also increases. That's not true.
National Treasury says the relief measure is designed to be fiscally neutral. Nkosikhona Malingamnisi, Eyewitness News.
Tshwane Mayor Dr. Nasipi Moya says Action SA is still searching for a candidate to replace Kulufelo Murori. Murori is the MMC for Corporate and Shared Services who was recently fired over corruption allegations. She was dismissed last week after being implicated at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry for allegedly attempting to manipulate a tender. Action SA has also terminated her party membership, saying it does not tolerate individuals involved in corrupt activities. At a media briefing in Mamelodi today, Moya assured residents that she's in the process of appointing Murodi's replacement.
The position remains an Action SA position, and I will advise once the internal processes of Action SA are concluded, I will advise who that person is. But we're not going to take too long because we obviously rely on that department to do a lot of work to support other departments. After Easter, we'll have a new MMC, that much I can assure you.
The number of foot and mouth disease cases continues to rise despite the vaccination campaign that has now seen more than 1.7 million animals inoculated. The Department of Agriculture says the surge is owing to improved surveillance and previously unreported cases. But parliamentarians are concerned about the pace of vaccine imports, fearing that soon the country will run out of stock. Lindsay Dentlinger has more.
Providing its weekly update to Parliament's Portfolio Committee today, the Department of Agriculture reported new outbreaks in KwaZulu-Natal, Limpopo and the Northwest, prompting additional vaccines to be dispatched to these provinces. The current number of outbreaks currently stands at 1,223, with the Free State and Gauteng most affected. With around 763,000 doses of vaccine left in stock, Deputy Director General Botle Modesane says vaccines are running low in some of the provinces owing to new outbreaks and as the vaccination drive ramps up.
There could be more animals that have been vaccinated, adding the numbers by the private practitioners, and then much fewer doses of vaccine that are left.
The department today reported that after not producing vaccines for years, the Agricultural Research Council is now due to deliver its first 20,000 doses, with another 1.5 million doses awaited from Argentina and a further 2 million doses from Turkey. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
The Nigerian High Commissioner has written to traditional leaders in the Eastern Cape requesting a meeting to resolve concerns surrounding the coronation of a so-called Nigerian king in the Eastern Cape. This request comes after protests in Kukompo City in the Eastern Cape turned violent yesterday. Today, various groups marched to the Nigerian embassy in Pretoria and handed over a memorandum of demands. Jabulile Mbata was there.
The groups are demanding a full account of the coronation, its purpose, who the organizers were and the participants. They've also questioned the legal status of Solomon Iziko and are calling for a commitment from Nigerians to respect South African laws and systems. The Nigerian Acting Deputy High Commissioner, Oladeje Ogumadeji, accepted the memorandum.
We are friends, we continue to be friends. So, and we are, as an embassy, we are out, we are ready to support the government, to support the traditional institutions, to ensure that peace that we are enjoying is maintained, to ensure that the bilateral cooperation between both countries continue to grow.
Ogumadeji assured the group that any Nigerian resident found breaking the law in South Africa will be dealt with. Jabulile Mbata, Eyewitness News, Pretoria.
And Prince Harry's legal team has demanded that a UK tabloid publisher pay him damages for invading his privacy as a lengthy High Court civil trial wrapped up today. The Prince, pop star Elton John and actor Elizabeth Hurley are amongst the 7 public figures suing the Daily Mail publisher for allegedly unlawfully gathering intimate information about them. The High Court trial has lasted 9 weeks with strong testimonies from the claimants. During an emotional day in the witness box in January, Prince Harry accused the publisher of making his wife Meghan's life an absolute misery, and he said he was made to feel paranoid beyond belief. Gold is trading at $4,563.89 an ounce. The rand is at 17.18 to the dollar, 22.64 to the pound, 19.63 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $115.03 a barrel.
Driving through the Joburg CBD, expect about a 20-minute delay on the M1 southbound from Killarney Benz to the Crown Interchange, while in Alex there's slow-moving traffic on the N3 southbound from the Butler Interchange to Linksfield Road, and in Midrand traffic sluggish. This is on the N1 northbound from the Butler Interchange to New Road.
In your auto sports, the Proteas women target a series seal after last ball drama against New Zealand, while the last round of the World Cup qualifiers takes place tonight with just 6 places up for grabs. And Bafana Bafana play their final home soil game tonight against Panama at the DHL Stadium.
A partly cloudy Wednesday in store for Gauteng tomorrow. Johannesburg drops to overnight lows of 16 degrees, peaking at a high of 26. Pretoria 17 and 27, and Vereeniging 14 at a high of 27 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour: government will introduce mechanisms to recover an estimated 6 billion rand in lost revenue during the month of April.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
702.
Drive home with John Perlman.
John Perlman, 3 to 6 p.m.
On 92.7 and 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
702 Drive, it's 8 minutes past 4. Coming up on the show for the next couple of hours or so. Good to hear that there is that temporary fuel levy cut. I don't know how long it's going to last. We don't know how long virtually anything that is fundamentally reshaping the world we live in at the moment. We don't know how long all of that is going to last either. But after 5, we're going to look at what government does with the fact that, for example, just in the month of April alone, government departments will have already 6 billion rand less to spend on important and essential services. You may say that 6 billion rand wouldn't have been spent, certainly not all of it, on essential services, because so much of it goes to waste. Imagine if 6 billion rand had been put into extra water for the city of Johannesburg, for example. We all know how much of that would get lost simply because it ran out of the burst pipes. But I think you get the point I'm making. Government will have to plan. Government will have to look for either other sources of revenue or become a little bit more focused and aggressive in terms of cost cutting. We'll get some insights into that a little bit after 5 o'clock. Bafana Bafana play Panama tonight in Cape Town. 7:30 the kickoff. Last game before they head off to North America, where they, on the 11th of June, open the 2026 World Cup by playing one of the co-hosts, Mexico. Tolakele Mganga hanging out in Cape Town, getting the very latest from the camp. She's with us at about 20 minutes past 4. We're in partnership with MTN, as you probably know, around the promotion of small business. Dr. Nkosi Khumalo, GM for SME and Indirect Channels at MTN Business, talking with us about this campaign we're running and the competition that we hope will bring into the spotlight some of our very, very best small enterprises. We'll talk to Dr. Khumalo at about 10 minutes to 5. A lot of you are commenting on various things. We did ask you about the situation in the petrol stations near where you live, or petrol stations you visited. Quite a few have got comments on that. We looked at the improvements, it would seem, at the Hartbeespoort Dam, with that hyacinth coverage is now down to 10%. The upriver problems persist, though, and a few of you have got views on that. And we asked you, what is that thing that you absolutely must have a lifetime supply of guaranteed? Renee responds by saying the thing I absolutely must have is Mari biscuits. A lifetime supply would be wonderful. Keep those coming as well on 072 702 1702, 11 minutes past 4.
You're with John Perlman
on 702.
Hi, John. So what most filling stations are doing or may be doing is that, say you have a storage facility of diesel of maybe 150,000 liters at the increase of 7 rand, I'd also order all my diesel until tomorrow. I don't know. Maybe that's the plan.
Hi, John. Great news that organization is actually doing something about the horrific governmental municipality pouring sewage into our rivers, dams, and lakes and destroying our natural environment. As a river paddler for 30 years, paddling down multiple rivers throughout South Africa, I am a coach and a safety officer for South Africa, and I have taught people for more than 20 years how to paddle safely down rivers, even young children. From Rudaport, we went down the Klip River, we went down the Henops, we went down the Crocodile, we went down the Ball, and you know what the problem was? I had to stop. I had to stop the Henops and the Crocodile first because people were getting sick and going to ICU after spending a few hours on the river in the boats. And obviously from time to time learners do fall in and swim to the side, empty their boats, get back in, and off we go on another part of the adventure. And unfortunately in 2023, January was the last time in a 30-year period that I was able to take any learners down rivers in Gauteng, thanks to our government.
Yeah, it really is alarming, the amount of stuff that gets poured into our rivers. There was that expose done on the situation in Mogale City about 7 months ago by Sekonati Mantashe, who was doing that for News 24. And the state of the sanitation facilities was absolutely appalling. I wonder what the update is on there. Maybe we need to pick up on that story at some later stage. 13 minutes past 4. In a moment, a new study on child poverty in South Africa. Not just income, not just access to food, but it's a comprehensive look at something called multidimensional poverty. It's important, and we'll talk about it shortly with Marion Wagner joining us from the organization Breadline Africa. 14 minutes past 4. Let's get the latest traffic updates for you.
EWN Traffic.
Jammed up in the Joburg CBD, Karabo Chali is going to try and help you get it a little bit unknotted, sufficiently so that you can move.
All I can say is just avoid the M1 southbound if you're traveling through the Joburg CBD heading towards Boysons. You can expect about a 20-minute delay. This is from Killarney Bends all the way to the Crown Interchange. Also, traffic a bit sluggish. This is traveling towards Midrand, leaving Sandton. M1 northbound from Ethel Oakland to the Butlu Interchange. Also in Alex, slow-moving traffic heading towards Germiston. N3 southbound from the Butlu Interchange to Linksfield Road, Midrand. Expect some delays. N1 northbound. This is between Ellendale and New Road. If you come across any other traffic issues, kindly WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app. Stay with 702 Afternoon Drive with John Perlman. Brought to you by Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
We know that times have been incredibly rough in South Africa over a long period, pre-COVID, during COVID, making things worse. And then we've had all sorts of knocks. And then just when we thought we were getting back on track in terms of at least achieving some kind of growth and a modest amount of stability, well, we've got this crisis in and around Iran, which has hammered the petrol price upwards and dashed a lot of hopes in the process. A new study has been done looking at the state of what our children face in South Africa. It's done by Stats SA. They collaborated with the Southern African Social Policy Research Institute, as well as the UN Children's Fund that some of you may know as UNICEF. So what did they find, and how should we be looking at this problem? It is more than just hunger, although hunger itself is a massive problem. Let's look at this phenomenon then of multi-dimensional deprivation. And welcome to the show, Marion Wagner, who's CEO and director at the organization Breadline Africa. Ms. Wagner, welcome, and thanks very much for your time. I understand that there are 7 dimensions of well-being that have been measured: nutrition, health, protection, child development, education, housing and water, and sanitation and hygiene. Why the importance of this comprehensive look at what children are faced with? Because if we were just looking at food and possibly even household income, we may see some modest improvements, although not at the moment. But clearly the study says there's much more to poverty than just those 2 indices.
Hi, good afternoon, John. Yes, no, absolutely. As you say, there are the 7 dimensions, and I think they're all critically important for how a child develops. And they started at an early age at the ECD Center, where it is so important for a child nutritionally, but also the access to water and sanitation is incredibly important. So they're all overlapping. For a child's well-being to be measured, you've got to look not just in any one of these in isolation. So nutrition, health, as you say, and the whole child development, and a really important part of this is infrastructure and education, and that is the part that Breadline Africa are very focused on, including water and sanitation and hygiene, where we work to replace pit toilets. But I think what's alarming is that, the situation hasn't improved. It's, they're saying, 57% of children are multidimensionally poor. So if you are, in more than 3 of these dimensions, it's classified as multidimensionally poor. And that is, it's got worse since, it's down from 60.8% in 2015. So it's sad that we're seeing this 3.5 percentage drop in 8 years.
Yeah, I mean, what struck me as you were talking, but also looking at some of the remarks you made in an interview you did, a very good piece, by the way, in Business Day with Stella Mapenzauswa, who's the economics editor then. You refer to, for example, the simple fact of learners who go to schools where there is appalling hygiene, for example, and there's something of an ordeal in every school day about something that ought to be a right, but also easily dealt with. Sanitation, as you say, that's very much in the wheelhouse of what your organization does. But that can actually have fundamental impacts on how children perform educationally, I would think.
No, absolutely, and that's at the ECD level and the primary school level. I mean, we see children as young as 4.5 to 5 years entering primary school, which is incredibly young. They're tiny, and then they're exposed to the most horrendous toilet conditions, where it becomes a trauma and a fear for these children to actually have to physically use the toilet. In some of the schools that we have that have applied to us, they have no functional toilets, that children are forced to use the neighboring bushes and fields. But no child should have to learn in fear. So dignity, dignity it's a basic human right. And for a child to learn, a child can't come to school hungry, and then it can't be scared to drink water and not eat because it's too scared to use the toilet. So these are real things that impact a child succeeding at school. And as we know, education is really the only path out of poverty and for the children to get a better future.
I know I'm asking you to generalize, and you can respond, Ms. Wagner, either with specific examples or indeed making general points. But it seems to me children under these circumstances are also having their horizons shaped and shrunk by the sense that all around them, their basic needs are not being met. So we've spoken about education, sanitation in the school place, housing and water is another issue, protection, which I assume to mean a sense that A, you are largely safe in your world, but secondly, when you are threatened, somebody will come to your assistance. If you've got all these insecurities, that must surely affect your worldview. I know with some people it would make them stronger and more determined, but I think for others, their confidence must take quite a knock.
No, absolutely. And I think this is why early childhood development and early learning programs is so important. So many young children whose parents can't afford to pay for children to go to an ECD center, they are at high risk. If parents have to go to work and children are left with neighbors or grandparents to look after them, they're very vulnerable. They don't get the protection they need. And in a safe ECD center where there is access to food and stimulation and learning, the chances of that child thriving is going to be so much higher. That chances of that child getting school ready is going to be so much more improved. So, I mean, protection is a key factor, and that's where ECD centers play a critical role, and access to ECD centers, and that's limited in many of the rural areas. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Marion Wagner, CEO and Director at Breadline Africa. This report by Stats SA, the Southern African Social Policy Research Institute, and the UN Children's Fund, UNICEF. Very, very interesting indeed. As I said, good piece on the Business Live site, summing up some of the most important findings, but looking at the idea of multi-dimensional deprivation, and maybe if that was part of your life or it's part of the life of communities that you're familiar with, either through family ties or through the work that you do, you may want to comment on this and just talk about how all these different elements can really undermine children's sense of their worth and children's belief in their life possibilities. But it's an important conversation. Quite often we focus in on a single aspect like food security, for example, and crucial as that is, it's certainly not the only measure of poverty and the deprivation of opportunity. So your thoughts most welcome. 072 702 1702, 23 minutes past 4.
Drive home with John Perlman
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
Right, let's go down to Cape Town. Football match tonight. Bafana Bafana playing in South Africa for the last time, I think, unless there's something in the schedule I've missed. But certainly looking to tune up and fill up their tank without too much of a fuel levy in advance of actually filling up that tank. But yeah, really leave their last engagement in front of their South African fans feeling that the country really is behind them. So Panama, the opponents. What's the atmosphere like down in Cape Town? Tolakele Mganga, our EWN sports reporter and our regular sports updater here on 702 Drive, is in the south of the country and eagerly looking forward to the match. Tolakele, Cape Town buzzing in advance of the game. What have ticket sales been like? What are people saying?
Well, John, even though the gates open at 4:30, I can tell you that the lines have already started to get into the stadium. We of course know that SAFA confirmed on Monday that this game is a sellout. It is possibly Bafana Bafana's last game on home soil. We still don't have official confirmation if they'll play one more friendly before they head to the World Cup in Mexico. But for Coach Hugo Bruce yesterday was speaking about the fact that after roughly 3.5 years of success, this Bafana Bafana team really did have people believing again. And then when they got to AFCON, unfortunately, they were disappointing. But he was so surprised by the fact that both here in Cape Town and in Durban, the fans really turned out in their numbers, whether it was meeting them at the airport, being around the team hotel, and even now for these games, people are really showing that the 3 years that Bafana Bafana have really worked towards getting them back on side wasn't all lost after that disappointing last 16 exit at AFCON. And this time around, as they prepare for a first World Cup since hosting it in 2010, they want to make sure that the team knows that the fans are fully behind them.
So just give us a sense of, if it's clear from the coach, Tolakele, what he's looking to get out of tonight's game. Presumably it's not just the result. He would want to see the team playing with a bit of zip and swagger. Is he experimenting with new combinations? Is he putting out what might be close to the lineup he sends out to face Mexico on the 11th of June?
There's definitely no time for experimentation, John. You were speaking yesterday about saying he's 70% certain who will be going to the World Cup. So he's using these games to kind of fine-tune which players you'll be putting in what positions. He was speaking about the kind of football that they want to be playing. They don't want to play, as most people would call it, like a Scop and Donner sort of football, where you just kick the ball long, and then you expect your striker to be the one that's converting the chances. They want to play the ball on the ground. That's why the likes of Thembazwane are so pivotal to this philosophy that he has, and that's why Rile Mofokeng is kind of being molded to be Thembazwane's successor, because he wants to play the kind of attractive football that fans can enjoy. It's about making sure that the wingers in Oshuna Palace and Tshepang Moremi in the Friday game are coming into the encounter and making sure that they delivering in terms of the crosses into the box and making sure that the strikers have multiple opportunities. I think the one area of concern will definitely be the goal scoring, but that's been a long South African footballing story where we unfortunately don't have enough strikers that do take opportunities when they are presented to them. We know that Lyle Foster, he unfortunately was the recipient of much jeering and booing in that game against Panama on Friday, where every time he missed a chance, the fans were calling for him to be substituted. Captain Ronan Williams saying in the press conference that at the end of the day, this is Bafana Bafana's number one striker. If you don't support him, who are you going to support? Coach Hugo Bruch, I know that the phrase about him labeling Lyle Foster as lazy has been the one that's been trending on social media, but people have to read that full quote in context, where he was saying that he noticed that he does have the ability to be lazy, but the areas of his game that he can focus on. So those are the parts that the fans need to really work hard towards motivating Lyle Foster. Already at club level, he's dealing with a difficult situation where his team, Burnley, are on the verge of getting relegated. So he would be coming to the national team hoping for some reprieve and support. So when the fans are doing exactly what he's dealing with at club level, it's not helping the national team. And also his teammates themselves will also struggle to lift themselves up for the crowd if you're only supporting 10 of the 11 players on the field.
Yeah, thank you so much. Tolakele making her way into the DHL Stadium in Greenpoint in Cape Town. It's not a match with anything specific on the line, i.e. it's not a qualifier or anything like that, but Bafana Bafana will be looking to put on a really, really excellent show tonight, and Cape Town getting right behind them the way Durban did on Friday night. So great stuff. And by the way, we'll be keeping an eye on one of the European qualifiers, Denmark facing Czechia. That's happening tonight. Denmark the game's in Prague, actually. I was about to say Denmark at home, but it's exactly the other way around. And the winner of that goes into our group at the World Cup. So if you're wondering why I'm saying you ought to keep an eye on Denmark versus Czechia, well, that's why. We get to play the winner sometime later in North America. 28 minutes past 4.
EWN Business.
Stephen Curtis, a very good afternoon to you. Some gains on the market today. Rand a little bit better, oil a little bit cheaper, but hey, I think we know which part of the woods we're in, but we're not out.
Yeah, absolutely, John. Good afternoon. And obviously, government also having to fork out 6 billion rand, the cost that of the basically trying to subsidize the fuel levy for the next month. It'll go into a lot more than that. And in fact, the finance minister saying 15 billion rand at one point, depending on how it all goes. And we really don't know. The US President Donald Trump saying helpfully that if you're battling to find oil, you could either buy it from him or go into the Strait of Hormuz and get your own, which I thought was very constructive. Yes, so the JSE All Share up nearly 1.5%, 114,058 points. Financials up 0.7%, industrials up 0.91%, resources up 2.82%. Gold is slightly stronger, a little bit of a bounce for platinum as well. The Supergroup are up 5.82%. Sibanye and Harmony and Anglo Gold all up by around 4%. Sibanye up really 5%, and then Gold Fields up quite strongly as well. So all of those mining companies are doing quite nicely. Remgro are up 3% today. News that they and the Mediterranean shipping company MSC have reached final terms on their deal involving Mediclinic. Remgro will own the Southern African operations. MSC will take over the Swiss operations. The two remain partners for their Middle East operations. John, I love this. To make this work, they have to each pay each other about 16 billion rand. So, okay. I mean, guys, there's got to be, I don't know, a simpler way to do it. Let me ask, I don't know, a toddler maybe, how you would work that out. But yes, they each have to pay each other 16 billion rand. And Pepcor's confirmed that Mervis Skults will be in charge of their new banking institution. They intend to start operating from next year, sort of digital bank, but they've got 6,500 stores to use to leverage that. Couple of property companies down actually. Fortress are down nearly 4%, Attack down 1.14%, Tungela down 3.5% despite being in the coal business, and Telkom down again, down 1.71% on the day. In the US, lots of talk about de-escalation, such a strange word, in the Middle East, sort of hoping that there'll be some kind of change there, and that's bringing a bit of encouragement to US markets. The Dow Jones is up 1.25%, the Nasdaq is up 1.86%, the S&P 500 is up 1.45%. And the gold price, $4,615.59 an ounce. Platinum, $1,928.50. Brent crude, $106.92. The rand to the dollar, kind of 17 exactly, 17.01 if you prefer. The rand to the euro, 19.60. To the British pound, 22.54. Stephen Curtis, EWN Business.
29 minutes to 5 on 702 Drive. Let's get the very latest now in terms of breaking news here and in other parts of the world. Bali Tlamini, a very good afternoon again.
Thanks, John. Good afternoon. While government's move to cut the fuel levy by R3 has been largely welcomed, some Johannesburg motorists say it's not enough to offset the latest price hikes. They've described the increases as devastating, saying they will be forced to dig even deeper into their pockets. Both grades of petrol will increase by R3.06 a litre. Diesel will see an even steeper rise, climbing by between R7.37 and R7.51 a litre. EWN caught up with some motorists already in long queues at some petrol stations in the city to fill up before midnight.
Yeah, I mean, the increase, I think we understand globally where the problems are coming from. So we kind of understand the increase, hoping the government would have been able to soften it a bit for us. But it's not just about getting the better price, it's about making sure you get fuel.
It's devastating, honestly. It's also ridiculous. Everything's just going up as if we weren't already living in an expensive economy.
There's more that they can do. I'm sure that's why we put them there. They're clever minds that could come up with better ideas. But I think R3 is a little. They could have scrapped the levy at all just for this period.
The South African National Defence Force has dismissed concerns that its soldiers are not equipped to operate amongst civilians. This comes as it prepares to deploy more than 2,000 troops to crime hotspots across 5 provinces from tomorrow. The 12-month joint operation bringing together the Army, the SAPS and other law enforcement agencies was officially launched during a parade in Cape Town today. The deployment follows a directive issued by President Cyril Ramaphosa during his State of the Nation address in February. Tutuzelo Nene reports.
Under Operation Prosper, the soldiers will support police efforts to combat illegal mining, gang violence and organized crime. Director of Operations in the SANDF's Joint Operations Division, Brigadier General Martin Khopane, says the troops are fully prepared for the mission. He adds that they are well trained in working with civilians.
There is a module which is called fighting in build-up areas. That is where now we go and hone our skills and say, if I'm here in the communities, what is my conduct? How are we going to conduct ourselves?
Khopane says the operation aims to dismantle organized crime networks and restore stability in affected communities. Ndutuzelo Nene, Eyewitness News in Cape Town.
And Cape Town Mayor John Hill-Lewis has delivered the last budget of his administration, saying it delivered the biggest municipal infrastructure investments in the country. The budget, referred to as the City of Hope budget, will see a capital budget of more than 13 billion rand. This is more than double the Metro's 6 billion rand capital spending in its 2021-2022 budget at the beginning of Hill-Lewis's term.
We have taken on infrastructure projects of impressive, and you may even say daunting, scale in this term of office. Some of these projects are the largest of their kind ever undertaken by a city government in South Africa.
Hill-Lewis also bragged about the budget compared to other large metros in the country.
And as has been the case for each of the last few years, our capital budget remains higher than all 3 of the Gauteng metros combined.
A partly cloudy Wednesday in store for Gauteng tomorrow. Lows of between 14 and 17 degrees and highs of between 26 and 27.
Sandton, bumpy bumper traffic on Catherine Street between Rivonia Road and Grayston. There's also slow-moving traffic in the area on Grayston Drive between Sandton Drive and Linden Road. There's slow-moving traffic as well in the Alex area. This is N3 southbound from the Between Interchange to Linksfield Road.
The top story in EWN, while government's move to cut the fuel levy by R3 has been largely welcomed, some Johannesburg motorists say it's not enough to offset the latest fuel price increases.
702 Afternoons
with Relebohile Maboja, 1 to 3 p.m.
If we look at how extreme deepfakes can go, can you lay the land of how extreme they can be? Because we know that they are getting so smart that you can get a phone call that is from your mother, your partner, your husband, but it isn't from them.
The capability that now exists on, an individual with a $2,000 laptop and a reasonable amount of your voice recording, possibly even some still images of you, you can find that you can be fully cloned. And so what was traditionally a biometric fence, so to speak, like a security gate, identity was very difficult to replicate or to fake. And that's not true anymore.
Matthew Rinery, co-founder Certified AI Access.
702 Afternoons
with Relebohile Maboja.
Let's walk the talk.
Water is a precious and limited resource that we all depend on. Johannesburg Water continues to strengthen the city's water network through improved turnaround times for leak repairs, pressure management, and infrastructure upgrades to improve system reliability. But water conservation is a shared responsibility. Residents can help by fixing household leaks, turning off taps, taking shorter showers, and using water wisely. Every drop saved helps. Brought to you by Johannesburg Water, a water and sanitation utility that cares.
The Vodacom United Rugby Championship is one of the hottest tournaments on the planet. Hollywood Bets adds spice with an epic competition in which 400,000 rand in cash, prizes and betting vouchers must be won. Prizes include a Vodacom URC VIP experience and a glamorous Table Mountain adventure. To enter, simply bet 13 rand or more on any Vodacom URC fixture between 23 January and 16 May. T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counseling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710.
Meet Tato Magate, CMO of KitKat, proving that South African tech can take on the world. Tato, why was Telkom Business the right call for your team?
Bottom line was connectivity and ensuring that we have the right service provider.
With Telkom Business Fiber, KitKat seamlessly connects local innovations with international manufacturing.
Get Stream Connect Fiber from just 399 Rand per month. Call 10213 or click telkom.co.za. T's and C's apply. Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
The Money Show.
Weekday evenings at 6.
R5 a litre for petrol. Does that sound about right to you?
Maybe on the upper limit. I'm expecting at least something like R6 if we add everything else, BFP levies and the magistrate district zones adjustment. And on the diesel, I'm expecting anything around, 10 Rand, paraffin probably 11 Rand,
Sure.
LPG 5 Rand per kilogram.
Bafana Bafana, the CEO of the Fuel Industry Association of South Africa.
The Money Show
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
The Money Show, Stephen Curtis, is brought to you by ABSA Sponsorships. For 20 years, ABSA has been a proud sponsor of the ABSA Cape Epic. And now they're giving you a chance to take your grit to the gravel. Join Team ABSA Cycling on Strava. Upload your rides and you could win one of 2 ABSA Cape Epic 2027 team entries. Because your story matters. ABSA is a registered FSP.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Good afternoon, Dada John. I just passed a filling station here in Sandton, Kramerville, a Sasol garage. It is packed, it is packed, it is packed. It is packed. You can see everyone is trying to fill up their tanks before the petrol goes up. Oh, wow. And there's traffic on the N1 north now. I'm about to pass Allendale interchange. The 4 bus, I just wonder if they will take me home because I couldn't fill up there in Kramerville because it's packed. There's traffic. N1 North, N1 South. Oh my. Where do we find ourselves now as South Africans? Yo, it's K on the N1 North. Thank you very much.
Give me an avocado. Give me a lifetime supply of avocado. Oh, so nice. Put it on the bread. Just have it on the side as well. Put it on your wrap. Breakfast, even dinner, actually, we're just having veggies and some chicken. Give me a lifetime supply of avocado. Ripe, fresh avocado. This is Kuzo in Hatfield, Pretoria.
Thanks for that. So a cheerful reflection on a food you love. But boy, Kay, it sounds like you're really taking strain. And you know, I think a lot of people can connect with what you're saying. And those who are not necessarily in that jam that you are will nevertheless, I think most people would empathize. Really, really stressful times. And of course, tomorrow, very, very busy day as well. And then Thursday, even busier as people start making their way wherever it is they're going for the Easter weekend. Some people staying home, but even then, if you are staying home, you still got to get from work to home, so there's going to be traffic to deal with there. Yeah, just hang in there, okay? And everybody else who's struggling to find petrol and get through the long queues. 18 minutes to 5.
EWN Sport.
Well, if you missed our really interesting conversation with Tola Kele, she's outside the DHL Stadium in Greenpoint in Cape Town ahead of Bafana Bafana's game against Panama tonight. Just go to primemediaplus.com and take a listen. She's got some great insights based on conversations she's had with the Bafana camp. But let's get that story and the rest of the sports news as we welcome once again Tato Moloto. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, John. In fact, here's where I want to start. Leinster and Springbok lock Archie Snyman will now be unavailable for the remainder of the season after suffering a rupture ACL against Glasgow Warriors. It should be interesting for him because he had quite a season ahead of him. We'll have more on that story as it develops. Meanwhile, for Bafana Bafana, they are over at the DHL Stadium. This against Panama in their final dress rehearsals ahead of the World Cup. For captain Ronwen Williams, he admits that the team are back to their pre-AFCON intensity when it comes to training sessions. Both the players and coaching staff have conceded that they have played way below their potential as they were knocked out of the AFCON at the last round of 16.
Coach like Coach Hugo, the intensity is always high, does not accept anything less than your best. And we learned a hard lesson when we took our foot off the pedal at AFCON. It humbled us. If you had to see training now, you can see that everyone means business again. The tackles are flying in every day. No one wants to lose. There's a lot of battles. You know, it looks like a real game that's going on at training. No one wants to lose.
Kickoff at 7:30. Speaking of the World Cup, the final door is about to shut on the way to America. It's winner takes all in the last round of qualifiers with just 6 spots left. At 9:15, Denmark collide with Czech Republic in a clash that could shape South Africa's group. At the same time, 4-time champions Italy up against Bosnia in that game, while Poland, on the other hand, are with Sweden. They go head-to-head with everything on the line. Elsewhere, it's a straight shootout between Kosovo as well as Turkey, and then later on tonight the tension shifts to 11 p.m. when DRC are with Jamaica in a do or die. In cricket, it's a high-stakes midnight clash for the Proteas women as they look to seize control of their ODI series against New Zealand's women in their second ODI. But it's more than just a battle for momentum. All-rounder Sunay Luce is set to mark a major milestone tonight, her 150th ODI appearance in the Proteas colours.
Obviously very happy and excited for it. I think every time you get onto the field and represent your country is a big honour, and tomorrow is no different. So very excited, and hopefully there can be 150 more.
Finally, in tennis, Jack Draper has withdrawn from the next week's Monte Carlo's Masters to continue his caution comeback as far as his arm injury is concerned. Tato Moloto, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
4:45 on 702 Drive. EWN Traffic is brought to you by Outsurance. SMS the word out to 45142 now. and you could save on car insurance. If you don't, ask them for 500 Rand. Difficult times for people trying to move in and out of Alexandra. Alex Karabochale has those details and everything else that you need to know to get yourself home.
Yeah, that's if you're leaving Midrand heading towards Germiston. Driving through Alexandra, there's about a 30-minute delay. This is on the N3 southbound from the Batu interchange to Linksfield Road, while in Midrand, traffic sluggish. N1 northbound from the Batu interchange to New Road. There's also slow-moving traffic in the Four Ways area. This is on Winnie Mandela Drive from the N1 to Broad Acres Drive. Santon, bumper-to-bumper traffic on Catherine Street between Rivonia Road and Grayston. Also, traffic pressure on Grayston Drive between Santon Drive and Linden Road. And finally, in the Joburg CBD, heading towards Boysons, you can still expect about a 20-minute delay. M1 southbound from Killarney Bains to the Crown Interchange. If you come across any other traffic issues, please WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
The Outsurance pointsmen know that every car on the road carries a story. Like a businesswoman on the way to the airport after sleeping through her alarm. Bags in the back, boarding pass on the dashboard. She prays she'll make her flight.
Hope I make it.
The Outsurance pointsmen know it's not just a car in traffic, it's the potential closing of a big deal. Every story is different and every story matters. That's why the Outsurance pointsmen have been doing what they do since 2005 in proud partnership with 702. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
You're now listening to 702 Afternoon Drive with John Perlman. Brought to you by Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
More updates on the fuel situation. Ross says, I'm in Pretoria right now at a BP filling station. They say the fuel is finished. I suspect they want to sell it in the morning when the price has gone up. A change of a different kind announced by Chicken Licken. They say, after much consideration, we've made the decision to discontinue our rubber bands at all Chicken Licken branches with immediate effect. Remaining rubber bands will be available while stocks last. Thank you for your continued support and understanding, the Chicken Licken team. Now, I did a bit of Googling about what goes into the making of rubber bands. You get rubber that comes from rubber trees, but it would seem many of them, maybe even most of them, in the modern day contain petroleum-based products. So there's oil that goes into rubber bands, and Chicken Licken perhaps is looking to get ahead of the longer-term effects of the oil crisis all over the globe at the moment, and they're doing away with the rubber bands. It does raise a question, though. What is that thing in a product that you like buying that is kind of small and inconsequential? On the one hand, it's not the product itself. It may be in the packaging. It may be in the way the thing is supplied to you. That if they took it away, or maybe it's already happened on something that you love buying, where you thought, no, where's my little straw with the umbrella or whatever it might be? In this case, Chicken Licken and the rubber bands, they'll be there for as long as they have the rubber bands, but after that, the rubber band is gone. There's a great song, by the way, called The Rubber Band Man, which I urge you to Google and listen to. Anyway, back to the products. First of all, it's not I don't think I'm not even sure I've ever eaten Chicken Licken, but if I have, it hasn't been often, and I definitely wouldn't notice the rubber band going. How about you, Tato? Is there a thing you like buying that has just that little extra thing? I can get the point, by the way. You know, you've got shopping under your arm and your phone rings, and the last thing you want is your wings in the road. So the rubber band comes into play and earns its keep that way for now. But products you buy?
There's something, and I still buy this, yes, if you judge me. I don't quite
care. We don't
care.
judge here.
I love a McDonald's Happy Meal. Even at my big age. Okay. And I just love the packaging that comes with the Happy Meal. Also, the toy that you sometimes get. Oh, I love that. But the big one is just unboxing. You know, that package to find your little Happy Meal. And if you choose to be healthy, sometimes you get some sweet corn in there. But the box itself is so important to me because it's just part of the entire experience.
Yeah, Happy Meal, happy chappy there. How about you, Karabo Charlie? What's maybe a packaging thing or a little added thing that if they took it away, you might get quite cross?
I think all drinks should have this. Energy, sports drinks,
Yes.
your Energade and stuff. You don't have to.
Yes, just pull up the top.
You just pull up the top. You don't have to unscrew the top and drink and then close it again. You just have to just pull it. That is the best.
As a red wine lover, I don't think that's going to work for me. Okay, so packaging things. And by the way, you may want to comment. Chicken Licken, no more rubber bands. Give us your thoughts on that on 011 883 0702 and 072 702 1702. Coming up on the show shortly, we're going to be talking about small business and our partnership with MTN in making sure that small business thrives. That's in a moment.
In the last 24 hours, this is what's happened in your world.
Rising tensions in the Middle East have pushed global oil prices above $100 a barrel in recent weeks. This surge is expected to drive up transport and food costs, and some residents say the impact will be felt most by those already living below the breadline.
They need to do something, or rather, they need to change how they look at the petrol price and try and see how it can actually help the normal South African.
Wow, crazy. I don't know what the people's going to do. So, yeah, hard times is coming up.
I did not budget for this, and it's a big possibility that I won't be able to come to work.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent.
In business, the right connections change everything. It's the stability you need for that once-in-a-lifetime virtual pitch, the lightning-fast speeds that keep you ahead of deadlines, and the consistent, high-quality signal your teams rely on every day. Because when your connectivity works seamlessly, so does your business. Power your workday with fast, reliable fiber from OpenServe, built to keep your operations running at full speed. Visit openserve.co.za today to learn more. T's and C's apply.
Let's hear from Susan, owner of Leopard Song Manor, why it pays to switch to Outsurance Business Insurance.
We were with our previous insurer for 13 years. Switching made me aware of things that we weren't covered for. It was a quick process. I saved a lot of money.
For boutique hotels, catering companies, and all other businesses, get a quote today and see why it pays to switch to Outsurance Business Insurance. Visit outsurance.co.za or call 08600 60,000 today. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
Gauteng is currently experiencing high water consumption. To avoid water interruptions, residents are urged to use water sparingly to allow equitable supply. Act now, save water. Every drop counts. This message is brought to you by the Department of Water and Sanitation, Rand Water, Gauteng Provincial Government, City of Johannesburg, City of Tshwane, and City of Ekurhuleni.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
Running a small business takes more than just a good idea. It takes the right support, the right tools, and people who understand what it takes to grow something from the ground up. And that's exactly what MTN Business is focused on, helping SMEs at every stage, from starting out to scaling up, with the solutions they need to run and grow their businesses. That thinking also sits behind the 702 MTN Small Business Awards to recognize the SMEs doing the most and help take them even further. We're joined now on 702 Drive by Dr. Nkosi Khumalo. He is GM for SME and indirect channels at MTN Business. We're going to talk about how MTN Business is enabling small businesses and what these awards mean for SMEs. Dr. Khumalo, welcome. It's great to have you with us. What is this partnership all about? I mean, why do we need awards? You could just tell people about what you're doing. This is clearly something that you feel adds much more to just getting your message out.
Yeah, a bright yellow afternoon to you
and to you
and your listeners. Yeah, as MTN, we are obviously leaning in now and making sure that we support the plight of the small businesses during these difficult times. I mean, we could have spent this money on an advert, but we have chosen to participate in the awards. And awards are really good in terms of storytelling, in making sure that, we build a sense of hope for small businesses that are looking for, the standards that they need to beat. So, I mean, we know how difficult things are within the small businesses. I mean, almost 63% of small businesses, according to my research, do not make it past the second year of operation.
Wow.
Yeah, so we're coming in as MTN and making sure that we are, leaning in and supporting the small businesses.
I mean, one of the great things about doing it in this format is that it allows you to actually tell stories. And first of all, it showcases the excellent work people are doing, but hopefully the other people out there may be battling a bit, maybe thinking, to your stat, most of us actually don't succeed, to hear about people who are succeeding. So I think that makes a lot of sense. Not just a once-off campaign, though. You're looking for relationships, partnerships, for staying with people on a longer journey. Say more about that, if you will.
Yeah, so this is the third year where we partnered with 702, targeting small businesses that are doing some great work out there. Last week when I was here talking to Bongani, I shared a story for, how SEIDA has actually grown, from the publicity that we have given them through this initiative. Mm-hmm. The previous year, when I was with you at the awards, we saw how Connie's Biscuits actually came in and was actually a great case study of how these two girls started a business, took it over from their mom, and basically industrialized it. I was reading a day ago, Sheldon, one of the participants in last year's awards, he's the owner of the barber, the grooming business. He's sitting at 800 people that he's employed right now, over 80 stores nationally.
No longer a small business.
It's absolutely fantastic. Yeah.
No, those numbers and those stories are what we're going to be highlighting, both the class of 26, but also, as you're doing now, Doc, reaching back into some of the success stories from the past. Let's talk products and what you're actually offering. Digitization is important, accepting of digital payments as the world moves more and more cashless. Give us a sense of what an MTN partnership might mean in those terms.
So look, firstly, I'm super proud and very excited to hear that yesterday we were obviously awarded the most valuable brand in South Africa. Mm-hmm. Beating every single brand that in the country. So that's really, really inspiring. And that doesn't come on its own. Mm-hmm. It comes from the investment that we have made as MTN, the strength of our network, the connectivity that we provide for small businesses. I can just cite one example of the product that we have got that is fit for purpose for small businesses, which is, 5G-enabled fixed wireless access. Some of the businesses that we are targeting are in the township. Some are in the rural areas where there might not be fiber. And then we obviously use the robustness of our fixed wireless access, which is just an antenna we put outside the building, point it to a base station, and we give you fiber-like speeds to actually enjoy the benefits of a modern connected life as a small business. You can leverage things like Teams call that is anchored by Microsoft to do video call. Today we can actually see how crazy it is from a price of petrol.
Yes.
Businesses don't have to be driving up and down to meet potential clients. Just get connected, use robust network, and be able to enjoy connecting with people outside of your building without having to leave the business. This is what we are capable of providing businesses.
So there's 702, there's MTN, but the other partner in all of this is the wider 702 family listening in as you set out your goals, but also the tools that you are looking to provide SMEs with. What's your message to listeners? Because they've got a big part to play in what we're trying to achieve together.
Yeah, look, so we are inviting all residents of Gauteng, small businesses. If you know of a small business that is doing some great work out there, we invite you to nominate them. Go into Prime Media Plus website, go in there, look for a banner that has got MTN 702 Business Awards, click in there and nominate the business. There are obviously quite nice, benefits from a business that has actually been nominated. The number one leading, or the one that we nominate, would get over 200,000 of 702 airtime. The second best would obviously get 100,000, including the third. And there's a cash component that we also inject in this. So the message to everyone is support those businesses, put them forward, let them enjoy the benefits that come with this initiative as a partnership between 702 and MTN.
Yeah, and of course, before the judging takes place, and if it's the previous years or anything to go by, it will be fiercely competitive and the standards will be high. But as we talk to those small businesses, Bongani and I will be doing this consistently over the next couple of weeks. You do not know who is out there listening. There may be an opportunity in what seems like a conversation for something special to happen. Thank you very much, Dr. Nkosi Khumalo, first of all, for joining us on 702 Drive, but secondly, for making this partnership happen with us right here on 702. And the success stories and the stories of growth and jobs created and prosperity generated are inspiring. We're going to do it again this year. Dr. Khumalo is GM for SME and Indirect Channels at MTN Business. This is 702 Drive. It's 5 o'clock.
This is EWN.
Fuel shortages hit the Tshwane bus service, and Barnabas Xulu still wants Andy Motibi out of the NPA top job. Good afternoon, I'm Bali Dlamini. The city of Tshwane is urging commuters to find alternative transport following fuel shortages affecting municipal-owned buses. The Tshwane bus service has been significantly affected, with all three of its depots running low on fuel. While government insists there's enough fuel for the next 3 to 4 months, several petrol stations and depots are already running out. Speaking at a media briefing in Mamelodi today, Tshwane Mayor Nasiphi Moya emphasized that bus operators have been affected. Alfara Mushwana reports.
The Tshwane bus service operates 155 daily shifts, but the city has since reduced them to 65 due to reported fuel shortages. The city says there is a possibility that all its buses will be forced to stop operating as they anticipate their reserves to run out any time now. Tshwane Mayor Nasiphi Moya says while plans are being made to mitigate the shortages, there's no clear indication when bus operations will return to normal.
The nation must consider doing the approach that we took in during COVID, where people must work from home. But internally, we are prioritizing the key service delivery departments. For instance, the electricity guys must not suffer. National government, however, insists there are no fuel shortages and that South Africa receives a bulk of its crude oil from West African countries. Alpha Ramshwana, Eyewitness News, Pretoria.
At the same time, Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana says the temporary reduction in the fuel levy will cost the economy 6 billion rand in lost revenue. The reduction of 3 rand for both petrol and diesel will be in place for the month of April. Godongwana made the announcement today as a way of cushioning motorists with higher fuel prices set to kick in at midnight. South Africans have been panic buying fuel over fear of shortages and increases which are due to kick in tomorrow. Godongwana says the move to cut the fuel levy was necessary, even though they do not know where they will find the revenue shortfall. This audio is courtesy of Newsroom Africa.
Mind you, I don't even know where I'm going to find this money for now. In between, I must be working within the budget and say, how do I restructure in such a manner that I can be able to fund this thing. April alone is going to be 6 billion.
Let's stay with fuel matters, but move further afield now. Lithuania has announced that it will halve the price of domestic train tickets in response to soaring fuel prices. The sharp spike in pricing is triggered by the war in the Middle East. This is one of the interventions introduced by several countries around the world to contend with the rising fuel prices. Today, Indonesia also announced fuel rationing and ordered civil servants to work from home 1 day a week. Back here at home now, Parliament's ad hoc committee investigating allegations of police corruption has been at loggerheads this afternoon over how much more time is needed to produce a draft report. This comes after almost 6 months of hearings by the committee. The committee was due to complete its work today in line with the third extension granted by the National Assembly. But Speaker Togo Didiza is giving the committee 1 more month to conclude its work. But the majority of political parties do not believe this is achievable. Lindsay Dentlinger reports.
After failing to meet last week to discuss its program for writing and deliberating on its report to the House, today the committee debated a proposed program with a May deadline. Evidence leaders say they have only received just more than 40% of hearing transcripts, and in the next term, parliamentary staff and committees will be focused on budget matters. Still, the ANC Chief Whip, Mdumiseni Ntuli, says MPs and committee staff should push towards an April deadline. But the DA's Glynis Breitenbach said parliamentary staff are already burning the candle at both ends.
Even if they work 24 hours a day, they can't get it done. It's impossible. It's humanly not possible to do it.
The EFF's Licken Matase agreed.
It's not going to be a rubber stamp that the technical team or even the evidence leader is going to produce a report and we are just going to rubber stamp.
Without consensus being reached, Chairperson Soviet Lekhanyane suggested that for now, parliamentary staff work towards the April deadline and then reassess how much more time is needed. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
And top lawyer Barnabas Xulu plans to appeal today's High Court judgment dismissing his application to set aside Endi Mutibi's appointment as head of the NPA. Earlier this month, Xulu approached the Pretoria High Court arguing the process to appoint Mutibi was unconstitutional. He is particularly aggrieved by the inclusion of former Investigative Directorate head Hermione Cronje on the deciding panel. Dimakatso Leshoro reports.
Barnabas Xulu claims Hermione Cronje was sharing internal information with an external party. He says his objection was largely ignored and that this led to him bringing a legal action to halt the interview process of the panel. But he was told by the state's attorney that his application was moot. Xulu then sought to challenge Mutibi's application on 2 grounds. One, that President Ramaphosa relied on the panel's recommendations, and that B, Mutibi was not subjected to the same process as the other candidates. But his attempt has failed. The court found there was no proper cause to bring a review, as Ramaphosa was within his right to appoint Mutibi. Speaking to 702 after the judgment, Xulu says the judgment is appealable.
We are encouraged also by the court that this is a constitutional matter, and that is why we've not been slapped with the court order. It is definitely going to be appealed.
Endi Mutibi remains head of the NPA, albeit for just over 2 years as he approaches retirement age. Dimakatso Leshoro, Eyewitness News.
Gold is trading at $4,562.18 an ounce. The rand is at 17.15 to the dollar, 22.64 to the pound, 19.63 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $113.81 a barrel.
Driving through the Joburg CBD, you can still expect about a 20-minute delay. M1 southbound from Killarney Benz to the Crown Interchange, while in Midrand, traffic sluggish on the N1 northbound from the Butlu Interchange to New Road. 4 ways traffic pressure on Winnie Mandela Drive from the N1 to Broad Acres Drive.
In your water sports, Coach Hugo Bruce has just under 62 days to submit his final 26-man squad for the upcoming FIFA World Cup. But first, that all-important friendly against Panama tonight at the DHL Stadium. And it's a midnight showdown for the Proteas women as they chase lead in their ODI series against New Zealand, Kayla Reineke being the all-rounder to watch.
A partly cloudy Wednesday in store for Gauteng tomorrow. Johannesburg drops to overnight lows of 16 degrees, peaking at a high of 26. Pretoria 17 and 27, and Vereeniging 14 at a high of 27 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour, the city of Tshwane is urging commuters to find alternative transport following reports of fuel shortages affecting municipal-owned buses.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
702.
Drive home with John Perlman.
John Perlman, 3 to 6 p.m.
on 92.7 and 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
7:02 Drive, it's 9 minutes past 5. Good to have you with us on the show. Coming up shortly, we're going to take a closer look at some of the medium-term implications of the fuel price increase on the one hand, but secondly, the measures government have taken to actually mitigate this. As I'm sure you may have heard, but just in case you haven't, let me just spell this out. The fuel levy is going to be reduced by 3 Rand. That's an important component in any fuel price at any given time. On petrol, that guarantees that the increase will be 3 Rand less than you were bracing yourself for. On diesel, it's not quite so clear-cut because the diesel price is not fixed, but a recommendation. You can only hope that whatever the sellers of diesel were planning to institute as their increase, they will now trim that by 3 Rand and do so in good faith, given what government has done. But you may need to shop around and see if you can find diesel at the very best price. But what does government do with the hole that it will be left with? Some would say, well, do the right thing, do what you should have done many, many years ago. Stop wasting money, stop paying huge amounts of cash for things way over the market price of those goods. A la Tembisa Hospital, an example that comes readily to mind, but there are many others as well. But government is going to have less money to spend. The estimate given by Finance Minister Godongwana just for April is government will be out of pocket by about 6 billion Rand. We'll explore some of the alternatives and the implications with Kevin Lings, Chief Economist at Stanlib Asset Management. He'll be my guest shortly. Many of you with comments on petrol, many of you with views on the parlous state of our oil refineries in the country. And we've asked you as well, in the light of the fact that Licken will no longer be offering rubber bands around the goods that they sell you, whether there's anything that is a kind of a must-have in the packaging or delivery of a product that you particularly like, that you would be very unhappy indeed if they didn't provide that. Give us a call on that on 011 883 0702. Your thoughts.
Hi, John. I just heard that you're you love red wine. So it'll be interesting for you to have a wine show, like how John Matham used to have it in Cape Town. When I was in Cape Town, I used to listen to him quite often. So that will be nice. Give us some wine lessons and teach us all the good things about red wine. I'm also a lover of red wine, by the way.
Hi, John. Good afternoon to you. I'm trying to fill up my tank here at Engine Protea Glen, and I'm told they can only put 20 liters per vehicle.
Yeah, listen, it's a strange and difficult day. It really is, in regard to fuel and people's anxiety about the queues, because, queuing is not just an inconvenience, it's a disruption for people who've got to be somewhere, pick up kids, get to work if you work in the evenings, and so on. I think we'll have a better day tomorrow, even if the cost of the fuel will be more expensive. Just a quick response on the idea of having some kind of wine-related program on the show. It's something we chatted about, but there are rules, and I think many people will agree the rules are there for a good reason, that you cannot have conversations about specific kinds of alcohol. In other words, if you had a red wine show, you'd need to say you must try this pinotage or whatever it might be. But you can't do that, I think, before 6 o'clock. It might even be 7 o'clock. And that's bearing in mind that younger people are listening, yes, even to shows like this at that time. So you can talk about the wine industry, and we do if there are trends. There might be a review of the South African wine industry in general, books like John Platter. We've had Tim Atkin on this show. Those kind of things you can do. But as soon as you start getting product specific, then you can't do that, I think, until 7 o'clock. I must check what the time is. But either way, something I'd love to do, something that not possible, given the fact that we sign up to these codes for very good reason, because they make sense. 14 minutes past 5.
EWN Traffic.
Joburg CBD was tricky earlier. Joburg CBD is tricky now. This EWN traffic is brought to you by Outsurance. SMS out to 45142 now, and you could save on car insurance. If you don't, ask them for 500 Rand. Karabo Chale, absolutely for free. How's the traffic?
Well, at this stage, John, in the Joburg CBD, like you said, you can still expect about a 20-minute delay. M1 South from Killarney Bends to the Crown Interchange, while in Alexandra, travelling towards Germiston, traffic remains sluggish. This is on the N3 southbound from the Butlu Interchange to Van Buren. Midrand, expect some delays. N1 northbound from the Butlu Interchange to New Road. And finally, in Four Ways, there's traffic pressure on Winnie Mandela Drive from the N1 to Broadacres Drive. If you come across any other traffic issues, kindly WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
You know that feeling when you flip the duvet and magically find the TV remote? That's how good it feels seeing the Outsurance pointsmen on your route. Everyone breathes a little easier knowing the Outsurance pointsmen are on the roads. They've been easing the traffic congestion so everyone gets where they need to be quickly and safely for the past 20 years. With Outsurance, you really always get something out. In proud partnership with 702. Show them some love online using #PointsmenLove. Licensed insurer and FSP.
Driving the conversation on 702 Afternoon Drive with John Perlman. Powered by Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
Bongani Bingwa, 702 Breakfast.
Weekday mornings, 6 to 9.
President Ramaphosa saying he has not been sleeping very much, nor has his finance minister, who is, of course, crunching the numbers to see what relief he can offer hard-pressed South Africans ahead of expected increases in the price of just about everything, principally fuel, fertilizer, and that means food. How badly are we going to be hit?
The price increase is quite a big shock. Today it's over $110 a barrel, so almost double the price that we saw probably a few months ago. So we do expect that it is going to be a hard hit.
How rapidly can we expect these increases to filter?
We wouldn't expect them to go up immediately. With food, I think it's longer term sort of impact because that may be months away for some of the food products, only once fertilizer prices go up and transport costs go up.
James Hodge, the chief economist of the Competition Commission.
Bongani Bingwa, 6 to 9.
On 702.
On the go and your stomach suddenly not keeping up, that burn, bloating or reflux could be symptoms of an ulcer. Stress can make it feel even worse. Ulcernic offers triple action relief by coating your stomach lining with a protective layer and works for up to 6 hours. No prescription needed. Choose between suspension, tablets, or effervescent tablets. Keep an eye on the shelf for Ulcernic's new packaging. A fresh, new look outside, same trusted relief on the inside. Visit the Ulcernic Facebook page for more.
Can you shoot to the top? Hollywood Bets invites you to jump in for an adrenaline-pumping spinning adventure with the Spinner Zonke Tournament of Champions. You stand a chance to win a share of an epic 500,000 Rand in cash in a thrilling battle for riches. Rise to the challenge and bet 2 Rand or more on selected slots to climb the leaderboard. Ready to go for gold? Your action adventure starts here. Bet now.
T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counseling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710.
Dreaming of a home renovation? We see you. Cash Build and Capitec bring you the partnership that has both the quality building materials you need and access to an affordable home improvement loan with competitive interest rates and extended repayment terms. Apply in-store at Cash Build or any Capitec branch between March 30th and April 30th to stand a chance to win a 20,000 Rand Cash Build voucher and other prizes. T's and C's apply. Capitec is an authorized provider and FSP. Initiation and service fee apply.
Running a small business is not just about having a great idea, it's about having the right tools to grow it. That's exactly where MTN Business comes in. Beyond the 702 MTN Small Business Awards, they're doing a lot more to support SMEs. Tomorrow on the afternoon drive with me, John Perlman, we'll be in conversation with MTN Business, looking at how their connectivity solution tower is helping small businesses stay connected and competitive. So tune in and find out how they can help take your business further too. MTN Business, let's talk shop on 702.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
So a very difficult day today, I think, with many people trying to fill up with petrol, try and beat the price hike. A difficult day tomorrow in a different way, maybe not such long queues, but we are faced with the R3 fuel levy rebate or cut. It's not a rebate, relief I should rather call it. Notwithstanding, the prices are still eye-wateringly high. The other question we're going to have to consider over time is if this goes on for a while and the war in the Middle East shows no sign of abating that I can see with any particular degree of optimism, is this relief may need to be prolonged. And every tank of fuel that gets put in, government will have less amount of money in its tank. Some of you might say that could be a good thing. It might prompt them to be a little bit more careful with the way they spend public money. But it is something of a dilemma if you look at the South African economy as a whole. So how do we balance all of this? Kevin Lings is chief economist at Stanlib Asset Management, and he's with us on 702 Drive. Mr. Lings, welcome, and thanks so much for giving us your time. If you look at overall good government with 6 billion rand less money to spend in April versus South Africans with more money in their pocket and inflation a little bit less out of control than it would be with a higher fuel price, is this the best balanced choice?
Hi, John. Yeah, it's not a bad choice. I think it's actually quite a sensible choice. Obviously, the ideal would be if government had the fiscal ability to pay for the whole increase, right?
Right.
But we just can't afford that. It's just even the 6 billion. You know, if you said immediately to National Treasury where you're going to find 6 billion, they wouldn't know. It's not as if we've got that amount of money set aside in the budget, or there was nothing like this put in there.
Right.
And then, you know, obviously the government has been on this long process of trying to get South Africa's fiscal position in much better shape. And that matters hugely to a lot of dynamics in South Africa. So it's not something you just want to give up on. It's not,
right.
You know, government could say, okay, well, we'll just borrow more money. So we'll get ourselves more into debt and we'll help the consumer that way. And that may sound like, you know, something that would be beneficial, but the long-term implications of getting yourself more into debt are huge for this country because we've got too much debt to start with. So that's not really an option. So they've done, I think, something that is sensible. It's a bit of a compromise. Obviously, it works okay if the war ends quite soon, because then
right.
presumably the oil price comes down, the petrol price will come down quite quickly on the back of that. And when you get to reintroduce the fuel levy, then it's not as damaging. So this can be okay for South Africa, and we can kind of make our way through it if the war ends like quite soon this month.
Yes.
If this thing carries on, then we've got a whole different ballgame, because obviously the government can't afford 6 billion every single month. You do that for 2 months, 3 months, this becomes unworkable. And so the government would be forced to reintroduce the fuel levy, and so you would end up with another significant fuel increase on top of whatever the oil price is doing. And that would put everything under pressure, put the economy under pressure, put inflation under pressure, obviously worry about higher interest rates from the Reserve Bank. There are lots of implications of this. So this is a short-term measure. It's sensible. It provides a bit of relief, not entirely. As you say, the increases are enormous as they stand. And then you've got to hope that this thing ends fairly soon.
Yeah, and then what about legacy effects? Because, you know, I've heard the expression prices go up like rockets and come down like feathers. this will ward off some degree of inflation, but there may be people for whatever reason who just step in and say, hey, listen, I'm going to act early. It won't make me popular, but I'm expecting my input costs to go up. I'm going to raise my prices. They never come down as quickly. Are we inevitably going to get a substantial degree of inflation out of this, the mitigating steps notwithstanding?
Yes, we are. And you're exactly right. So what will happen is the inflation rate goes up immediately because of the petrol price increase. So that's a fairly automatic calculation. So to give you some idea, before the war started, we were looking at inflation in April being 3.1%. Now we're looking at it being 4%. So you could say, well, it's not the end of the world. But of course, that's just the start, because as soon as you're transporting goods, people, a whole range of things that feeds into every aspect of the economy, then some companies will absorb the price increase, but others will pass it on. And so you'll get, the longer it lasts, what we call second round effects. The pass on effect will permeate throughout the economy. If this thing lasts for a month and the oil and the petrol price is down quite nicely after that, then those knock-on effects will be fairly muted, but you're still going to end up with a residual effect.
Right.
You're not going to be able to move away from that. And that residual effect is there will be some prices that go up, and even if the petrol price comes down, those prices won't ratchet down. And you can watch things like airline fares or taxi fares or the cost of food in the shop. Is that number reduced? And invariably, it's not. So you end up with a higher cost for the household sector. What you hope is that it doesn't then become, very extensive into every single component of the economy, which it will do the longer this lasts. It will literally permeate throughout the entire economic system, and then you end up with an embedded much higher inflation rate. And obviously the Reserve Bank, they want the 3% inflation target achieved. They were there. Our current inflation rate is 3%, and they were excited about that. Now we're going to move away from that. So what are they going to do? They're going to be saying, well, maybe we need to put up interest rates in order to try and get our inflation rate back to this target, 3%. And again, it's a very worthwhile thing to achieve over time. So you don't want to give up on that. You don't want to give up on fiscal discipline at a government level. These are important things, but you want to be sensible about it. So the Reserve Bank will be cautious in how they hike interest rates, won't be that aggressive. They'll be mindful of what it does to the economy. Likewise, that's exactly what Treasury is doing. So I think there will be a thoughtful reaction, but ultimately it's going to do damage in the short term, and invariably it'll do some damage in the medium term, even if the war ends quite soon.
Thanks so much. Kevin Lings, Chief Economist at Stanlib Asset Management. Now, I asked you a little bit earlier about the rubber bands that Chicken Licken is no longer going to be offering until, they're going to keep giving you rubber bands, wrapping up your precious wings or whatever it is that you've bought. But then after that, once they've run out, they won't do anything more. Lisejo says, John, American Airlines made profit by removing one olive from their drinks on board, saved thousands, and customers didn't notice. One of the toothpaste manufacturers, I think Colgate, found that people spread what looks like the same amount of toothpaste onto their brush, irrespective of the size of the nozzle opening. We do it by sight, so they increase the opening and we spend more on toothpaste. Trust me, rubber bands have nothing to do with oil. It's likely a massive input that drives costs. Simply removing it, keeping the price unchanged, means higher profits for Chicken Licken. And Lisejo concludes, marketers are naughty little people. 28 minutes past 5.
EWN Business.
Stephen Curtis, a very good afternoon to you as people go out looking for fuel and join long queues. What kind of day have we had on the market?
And you got to worry now about your Chicken Licken spilling out, John.
Absolutely.
I mean, the list of concerns just grows.
Well, I suppose the one thing, if you are stuck in a queue with a box of wings, at least the vehicle's not moving. So spillage risks are diminished. But let me not make light of either spilled wings or expensive fuel because both can be serious.
Indeed. Well, the JSE All Share up nearly 1.5% on the day. Higher gold prices, platinum a bit stronger too. US markets looking a little stronger over hopes of de-escalation around the Strait of Hormuz. So the JSE All Share ending up 1.47, 114,068 points. Financials up 0.95. Industrials up 0.91, and then resources up 2.79% on the day. The Supergroup up 4%, and then really the miners, Sibanye, Anglo Gold, Harmony, Goldfields, all of them up very strongly. Sibanye up nearly 4%. Remgro up 3.63%. They've confirmed their agreement with the Mediterranean Shipping Company, so Remgro will continue to own the Southern African operations of Mediclinic. MSC will take over the Swiss operations, and together they'll run the Middle East operations. Motors is up 3.61, interesting, and Mr. Price also up 3.5% in the consumer space. Thungela down 3.98%, giving up some of the gains from yesterday. Both Fortress B and Attack down today, both in the property sector. Fortress B down by nearly 4% actually, and South 32 giving up some of yesterday's gains. That was all based on the platinum price yesterday. They're down 1%. Pepkor confirming Merva Skults will be in charge of the new banking institution. That'll start next year. And then the ICT company Datatech, their profits for the year to the end of February up by 10% to nearly $1 billion, in fact. In the US, well, as always, hard to kind of read what's going on Truth Social, but many of the markets deciding to be optimistic for the moment. The Dow Jones is up 1%, the Nasdaq is up 1.69, the S&P 500 is up 1.27, and then the gold price, $4,615.90 an ounce, platinum $1,935.60, Brent crude $107.67, and then the rand to the dollar 17.06, to the euro 19.67, to the British pound 22.55. On the Money Show tonight, obviously the latest from petrol stations. You've been talking about inflation. We'll take that on as well. We'll talk a bit about the investment conference with one of the organizers tonight, Ipeleng Selele, the chair of Brand SA, and how that's going. And then also we will talk about how younger people invest, John. It seems they do it slightly differently from, I don't know, do I do it differently from you?
We have not had the talk.
So younger people talking about investment differently, and then also we'll talk about possible new duties on the equipment you need to make renewable power. Stephen Krutis, EWN Business.
Thanks, Stephen. Back with the Money Show at 6. It's 29 minutes to that hour. Let's get the latest news. Here's Mpali Dlamini once again.
Thanks, John. Good afternoon. While government's move to cut the fuel levy by R3 has been largely welcomed, some Johannesburg motorists say it's not enough to offset the latest price hikes. They've described the increases as devastating, saying they'll be forced to dig even deeper into their pockets. Both grades of petrol will increase by R3.06 a litre. Diesel will see an even steeper rise, climbing by between R7.37 and R7.51 a litre. The new prices come into effect at midnight. EWN caught up with some motorists already in long queues at some petrol stations in the city.
Yeah, I mean, the increase, I think we understand globally where the problems are coming from. So we kind of understand the increase, hoping the government would have been able to soften it a bit for us. But it's not just about getting the better price, it's about making sure you get fuel.
It's devastating, honestly. It's also ridiculous. Everything's just going up as if we weren't already living in an expensive economy.
There's more that they can do. I'm sure that's why we put them there. They're clever minds that could come up with better ideas. But I think R3 is a little. They could have scrapped the levy at all just for this period.
The city of Tshwane says it is making significant progress in reducing the amount of money that it spends on water tankers. The metro recently came under fire after it emerged that it spent more than 620 million rand in the 2024-2025 financial year on private water supply trucks. Reports suggest the so-called water tanker mafia was exploiting the city, causing its annual spending to escalate. Utility Services MMC Frans Bushielo says the city is now spending much less on water tankers.
At the peak of our operation earlier this year, 175 trucks were deployed at a monthly cost of 20.5 million.
And as the city, we have made an effort to reduce the trucks with 34 trucks, which were reduced, making it a total of 141 trucks at the cost of 8.3 million per month.
He says the city is slowly reducing reliance on private water tankers.
The tanker budget has been reduced to 126.7 million, which is a 79 decrease, with 110 million redirected to infrastructure and municipal capacity. We are trying to make sure that we reduce over-reliance on water tankers.
And Prince Harry's legal team has demanded that a UK tabloid publisher pay him damages for invading his privacy as a lengthy High Court civil trial wrapped up today. The Prince, pop star Elton John and actor Elizabeth Hurley are amongst the 7 public figures suing the Daily Mail publisher for allegedly unlawfully gathering intimate information. The High Court trial has lasted 9 weeks with strong testimony from the claimants. During an emotional day in the witness box in January, Prince Harry accused the publisher of making his wife Meghan's life an absolute misery, and he said he was made to feel paranoid beyond belief. A partly cloudy Wednesday in store for Gauteng tomorrow, lows of between 14 and 17 degrees and highs of between 26 and 27.
Well, at this stage, Joburg CBD heading towards Boysons. Expect about a 20-minute delay. M1 southbound from Killarney Bends to the Crown Interchange. In Midrand, traffic remains sluggish. N1 northbound from the Patlu Interchange to New Road. And in Fourways, traffic pressure on Vidkoppen Road approaching Winnie Mandela Drive.
The top story in EWN, while government's move to cut the fuel levy by R3 has been largely welcomed, some Johannesburg motorists say it's not enough to offset the latest price hikes.
This Easter weekend, 702 brings you more than great conversations. So, stories and sounds to carry you through your long weekend. Whether you're on the road, gathered with family, or stealing a quiet moment for yourself, we're right there with you. From Good Friday through to Easter Monday. Enjoy special holiday programming to keep you connected, entertained, and completely at home. Join Kenny Maestri from 10 a.m., Bushaza Sibia from 2 p.m., Richard Nwamba from 5 p.m., and Notemba Madumo closing out your Easter Monday from 5 p.m. Wherever your Easter takes you, take 702 with you. Stream 702 live on the Prime Media Plus app. This Easter, 702 is with you. 702. Let's walk the talk.
With OutSurance, saving on your car insurance feels like catching your favorite song on radio just as it starts. 43-year-old Gloria saves an unbelievable 513 Rand on her 2024 Audi Q3. Get a quote now, and if OutSurance can't save you money, ask for 500 Rand or 1,500 if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. Get savings or cash. SMS out to 45142. That's out to 45142. OutSurance, licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
For Olwethu Nxumalo of Ozide Rentals and Custom Dressmaking, every stage is a story. What's your Telkom business chapter?
What made Telkom business stand out from all the rest was how fast everything was.
And with voice calling and fiber from Telkom Business, she stitches together inquiries and sources fabric online without dropping a thread.
Get unlimited VoIP 1 from 99 Rand per month and stream Connect Fiber from 399 Rand per month. Call 10213 or click telkom.co.za. T's and C's apply. Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
Every Easter, alcohol accelerates harms for families in South Africa. Our roads become deadly. Alcohol fuels violence and destroys our communities. This Easter, let's reduce the harms caused by alcohol. Increase excise tax above inflation. Excise tax is protection. For more information, follow the true cost of alcohol.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Hi, John. You know, there's always an opportunity in the moment of crisis, and what a great opportunity for Africa united to build capacity in the oil refinery space. where we put together capital and grow our capacity to refine our own oil and to sell to each other without using the petrodollar currency. I mean, if you think about how South Africa built so many companies during sanctions and the times where they could not actually import stuff, these are the moments where you actually start looking inwards and saying, actually, how do we build a level of independence and strengthen ourselves to a point where we actually don't need externals in order for us to thrive as a continent, not just as a country.
Hi, John. Good afternoon. Yeah, John, the fuel price increase is creating unprecedented panic. I mean, I'm parked directly to one of the major stations for fueling, and I mean the queue to go into that garage to fill the petrol or diesel is so unbelievable. So you can imagine it's already 5 now. So let's just say we can assume it's gonna be like this the whole night till that price increase takes effect at 1:12 midnight. So this will create a serious panic, and the employers, they need to now start to optimize their working schedules. Thanks, Joseph in Krugersdorp.
Yeah, Joseph, painting a very clear and vivid picture of what many of you are experiencing. And then Tando, I thought that was a fantastic suggestion there. A Pan-African focus on making ourselves more energy self-sufficient, pooling money to create refineries in key points around the continent. Great stuff. I wonder if that's in the pipeline, whether people are actually talking about that and making plans in that direction. Very interesting set of thoughts there. We'll explore them perhaps in the days to come. 20 minutes to 6.
EWN Sport.
Tato Moloto with the very latest from the world of sport. Countdown towards that Bafana Bafana game and some developments at one of the English Premier League clubs.
Absolutely, Dr. John. Good evening. In fact, we start with that news just in. Tottenham Hotspur have agreed on a deal to appoint Roberto De Zerbi as new head coach as far as Spurs is concerned. But I have to mention this, there is no pen to paper yet, but apparently the coach has agreed verbally on a 5-year deal with the club after the departure of Igor Tudor, just 44 days in charge. Meanwhile, back home, it's that all big countdown officially for Bafana Bafana as they take on Panama in their final game on home soil now at 7:30. All this ahead of their 2026 FIFA World Cup campaign against co-host Mexico on June the 11th. Skipper Ronwen Williams backs his teammate Lyle Foster, who was under a lot of scrutiny in their first test, for tonight to do better.
I just think he needs that goal just to get his confidence back, because strikers, like everyone, when the ball is in the net, then they're confident, then they forget about all their problems. So hopefully tomorrow night, the chances he gets, he can bury them, and he can go back to England happy, especially this last 2 months of the league, to go and push and fight and come help us, because we need him.
Staying with football, it's winner takes all in the last round of qualifiers with just 6 spots left. At 9:15, Denmark collide with Czech Republic in a clash that could shape South Africa's group. At the same time, it's 4-time champions Italy who are heavily under pressure against Bosnia-Herzegovina, while Poland and Sweden go head-to-head with everything on the line. Elsewhere, straight shootout with Kosovo as well as Turkey. Then the final game of the night is at 11 p.m. DRC taking on Jamaica in that do or die. In cricket, Sune Luce makes it 150 games in the Proteas colours tonight. This in a high-stakes midnight clash for the Proteas women. They are up against New Zealand women in their second ODI. Luce spoke about lessons from the run-in chase in their opening match, where they almost lost from being in a strong position.
I think we made it a lot, more difficult than what it was supposed to be. But that's cricket. It's going to ebb and it's going to flow, and there's going to be wickets and there's going to be sixes. So I think a few learnings we took out of it, that, if you're the in-batter, probably just stay there. I think that helps the team a lot.
Tato Moloto, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
Okay, let's find out what's happening out on the roads at 17 minutes to 6. Busy in 4 ways, not good news if you're heading that way, but Karabo Chale will give you some advice on what you might do. Here he is.
Well, at this stage, John, yes, 4 ways traffic pressure on Witkoppen Road. This is approaching Winnie Mandela Drive, while in Midrand, traffic sluggish. N1 northbound from the Between Interchange to New Road. Alexandra, you can still expect about a 20-minute delay. This is heading towards Germiston on the N3 southbound from the Between Interchange to Van Buren. In the Joburg CBD, traveling towards Boysens, traffic is a bit sluggish. This is on the M1 southbound from Killarney Bends to the Crown Interchange. If you come across any other traffic issues, kindly WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app. Stay with 702 Afternoon Drive with John Perlman. Brought to you by Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
So I mentioned at the show that Karabo Chale was not only watching the roads, but he was also watching the clock and the calendar. That's because, oh man, you're about to take some well-earned leave,
Gee whiz, I'm so looking forward to it, John.
Yeah.
I am going to rest, and probably I'll gain some weight.
Well, I think what we might do, because we have a little gym facility, I think we're going to weigh you just on your way out. Kabazela will take care of that. And when you get back, as you walk in, we'll weigh you. But seriously, well-earned break.
Thank you.
Enjoy it.
Will do.
We'll be delighted when you do come back.
He did say when he comes back from his break
wow.
that he will be able to do how many push-ups?
50 push-ups.
50 push-ups.
How many can you do now?
15.
15.
15.
Okay.
You had to brag, eh?
Yes.
You,
No,
you-
so
you can
it's
do
a
50.
challenge. You got to do
Okay.
it.
So
You've got a month to do 50 push-ups.
Not 50 in a month. You can do them like one time. Okay. All right. That's more challenging. Seriously, though, we'll obviously miss you while you're gone. We'll be delighted when you return, but have a good break.
Cheers there.
702 Drive, 5:45.
Drive home with John Perlman.
On 702, let's walk the talk.
Okay, so as some of you are making your way home, or excuse me, some of you are waiting it out in those petrol queues, hope it's not going to be too long and too stressful. We thought we'd do as we always do at the end of the show, give you some music. And today's music theme, Jonathan Fairbairn, is it sort of focuses on quite relaxing music. You've just shared with me a term that I'd never heard before.
Yeah, afternoon, John. So I don't think it would be relaxing music, but I think it's
okay.
that kind of music that is widely or generally acceptable. Like, they call it co-worker music.
Okay.
So it's not necessarily that you're going to sit there at your desk and play the music, although you might if you don't wear your headphones. But it's, let's say, for example, you sitting across from me at the office and I decide to play this kind of song. Now, you're not going to look up and think, why are you playing that?
Yeah.
You're going to maybe
Or
be
don't
listening
play
to it
that.
and maybe tapping your feet a bit.
Yes.
You know, in other words, you'll enjoy it. It won't be a nuisance or a bother to you that I'm playing this particular song. Hence, that's why I think they call it co-worker music.
So do you think it would be a similar playlist to music, say, in a supermarket or a chain store? I'm thinking of a shop like Dis-Chem where they've got more than one branch all over the country, and they've, it's not each store doing their playlist, but it's music that's nice and enjoyable and recognizable, but it's not going to sort of make people shop faster.
Yeah. I think that's kind of it in a nutshell. It's music that's kind of, people would say, oh, that's acceptable. That's pleasant.
But I like that song,
Yeah.
even if it's not on my playlist. Okay, so let's venture into the world of co-worker music. And maybe you work in places where you're allowed to have music on. Maybe you take it in turns to pick stuff. And how do you find that middle ground that's not so bland that it's absolutely unmemorable? The music is good enough, but it's not off to any extreme left or right that would put people off. So
Yeah.
let's start with the co-worker playlist. Where are you going, Kabazela?
So what's that one artist or band that you would call co-worker music?
Okay.
And what is the song? So Maroon 5 would have to be one of those kinds of bands because their music is, it's like, it's nice. It's not annoying. It's not over the top, but it's generally acceptable.
So it's really interesting, and you'll give us the track in a moment, but when I Googled co-worker music, this is what AI gave us. Imagine Dragons, Ed Sheeran, and Maroon 5. So hit it.
Maroon 5, This Is Love.
I was so high, I did not recognize the fire burning in her eyes, the chaos that controlled my mind. Whispered goodbye, she got on a plane, never to return again, always in my heart. Oh, this love has taken its toll on me. She said goodbye too many times before.
Co-worker music. What is the kind of music that would be on your playlist, or you'd expect to be on the playlists of other people, where you can play it in a workplace where there's a whole lot of different people? What's the ideal song that should be on the track? By the way, the AI that I refer to that listed Imagine Dragons, Maroon 5, who you've just heard there with their track This Love, or Ed Sheeran, also says actually it is kind of the retail sound. They call it mainstream and bland. I'm not sure about bland. To me, these songs get above bland because there's enough in them for people to like them and for some people to actually like them a lot. I can see our playlist is filling up, so we'll get to that as soon as we can. 702 Drive, what's on your co-worker music playlists? 072 702 1702, 10 to 6.
The Midday Report.
Weekdays,
12 to 1.
What is your reaction to the court's decision?
We note that the court have ignored the media statement of the president, where the president has decided to follow the same open and transparent process that led to the appointment of the current National Director of Public Prosecutions, Advocate Shamila Batoy. The judgment on the face of it, it's appealable. We are encouraged also by the court that this is a constitutional matter.
The Midday Report
With Mandy Wiener.
12 to 1 on 702.
702.
Want direct insight into Koeberg Nuclear Power Station or wastewater management? Inlet Africa's site visits are for you. Engineers, register now for your free expo pass at inletafrica.com. That's Inlet Africa from 19 to 21 May at the Cape Town International Convention Centre.
Gauteng is currently experiencing high water consumption. To avoid water interruptions, residents are urged to use water sparingly to allow equitable supply. Act now, save water. Every drop counts. This message is brought to you by the Department of Water and Sanitation, Rand Water, Gauteng Provincial Government, City of Johannesburg, City of Tshwane, and City of Ekurhuleni.
Baba Black Sheep. Have you any wool? Yes, sir, yes, sir. More than 3 bags full. We think beyond today, tomorrow, more. Look up, look far ahead. We may choose to leave the herd. There's greener grass where fewer care to tread. Baba Black Sheep, proof of what we do. Better for clients for over 20 years. Courage, we hold the course for you. Baba Black Sheep, if you want more wool, it takes black sheep thinking. Camissa Asset Management. Invest different. Camissa Asset Management is a licensed FSP.
702 Drive with John Perlman was proudly brought to you by Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Strange. Immediately I sort of crowded house into temptation.
Entertain John. The one that can be a nice co-worker jam is Katy Perry. I Kissed a Girl. Yeah, that one. When you're walking around, you hear that song. You want to keep on shopping, or you just want to tap your feet.
This was never the way
Katy Perry, I Kissed a Girl, Shumani's choice for a co-worker song. I think that's a little bit strident, the beat, a bit much. I'm thinking of something a little bit more bland, really. Like Ayanda's suggestion, Bill Withers, Lovely Day. Yes, indeed. I'd be happy if my co-workers played that. And that is not, as AI suggests, a bland song at all. A few more of your thoughts.
Afternoon, John. Maybe for me it will be Kenny G, Breathless. Thank you, Chablane from Wadwini.
Water management, Inlet Africa.
Hi, John. For me, it's Matchbox 20. The song is Unwell. So it's the song that came to mind when you speak about co-worker music.
Staring at the ceiling, making friends with shadows on my wall. All night, hearing voices telling me that I should get some sleep, because tomorrow might be good for something.
Matchbox 20, the song called Unwell. I'm not sure about Kenny G Breathless. I think co-worker music that is purely instrumental, that you're setting the bar a little bit too low. You got to test your co-workers a bit, and I think you need some singing going on in the background. That's certainly Troy's view, who picked this Coldplay track.
Look at the stars, look how they shine for you, and everything you do. Yeah, they were all yellow. I came along, I wrote a song for you, and all the things you do. It was called Yellow. So then I took my turn. Oh, what a thing to have done. And it was all yellow.
Coldplay makes it onto some people's list. Kolof Fellow says, Rihanna, work, work, work. And in a similar vein, Madeleine says, for a Friday, Kurt Darren, Ek wil huis toe. Chad has this song by Seal that he would play for co-workers.
First I didn't have the will to carry on. Illusions in my mind.
Sure, Chad, I don't know. That's got a kind of Friday 4:45 feel. But if you played that on a Tuesday at 1:45 or, maybe even worse, straight after lunch at 2:45, a bit too much of it. I'm not too sure. Here's one more.
And that day, John Norman in Kempton Park, my song, my co-worker playlist song would have to be The Living Years, Mike Mechanics.
generation blames the one before, and all of their frustrations come beating on your door. I know that I'm a prisoner to all my father held so dear. I know that I'm a hostage to all his hopes and fears. I just wish I could have told him in the living years.
Mike and the Mechanics playing us out on 702 Drive on this Tuesday as the Easter weekend approaches. Wishing you well if you're in the petrol queues. From all of us on 702 Drive, have a great Tuesday. Good night.
And now, The Money Show.
With Stephen Grootes, live on 92.7 and 106 FM. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
And DSTV channel 856.
The Money Show with Stephen Grootes is brought to you by ABSA Sponsorships, proud sponsor of the ABSA Cape Epic, celebrating 20 years of taking it to the trails. ABSA is a registered FSP. Good evening. On your Money Show tonight, government loses 6 billion rand as it cuts the fuel levy for the month of April, but fuel prices still go up dramatically in 6 hours' time. President Ramaphosa makes the case for SA Inc. at the big investment conference. The International Trade Administration Commission looks at higher duties for equipment to generate renewable power. We'll look at the lessons you absolutely need to learn for a secure retirement and how younger people invest differently to the rest of us. All of that to come, but first, the very latest.